Hello everybody, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports over in Europe has been in full swing for Season 5. But now our attention very firmly turns to North America and Latin America for what will be the regional finals of this incredible mono-brand Lamborghini Esport competition. We're here at the iconic and historic Watkins Glen circuit, and myself, Paul Jeffrey, and my good friend, Mr. Chaz Draycott, are going to take you through the racing action for today. Mr. Draycott, welcome to the show. How are you? And this is going to be an absolute cracker, old chap.
Thanks very much, Paul. Thank you for the warm welcome. Great to be back in the booth with you once again. Yeah, really looking forward to this. Watkins Glen is always an absolutely beautiful circuit to race on. It's never the most sort of complex or technical circuit to look at, and especially when you look at the shape of even like the club layout, for example. But this place always provides a great, it's not just a clean slate for drivers to race on. There's a lot of slipstream in here, a lot of heavy braking zones. I think we're going to see one of the best races of the entire competition here tonight.
Yeah, completely agree. It's great to be here now in the NALA region, see our North American and Latin American colleagues get on. We've seen a lot of great racing from Europe, and they've always been single races, Chaz, but this is the regional final. We've skipped all the qualifying, we've skipped all the hot stint, we're not bothered about that one. We're getting right into the meat of the show, and 2 racers are going to be on the slate for tonight, and this is always the time where you see who the real champions are, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, they're up against it here. There's a lot of pressure because this is the very final part of the competition. They've worked so hard to get to this point. This is the one chance that they cannot blow now. And obviously, with there being 2 races, they get a second opportunity if something doesn't quite go right in the first race. So we're going to see a different mentality here, I think, to what we've seen in a lot of the endurance qualifiers that have just been the hour-long single races. There, they've had to look after tyres, think about the bigger picture of everything. We've seen people drive a little bit more reserved because they know that, you know, I'm in 4th place. I can get through to the next round of the event, for example. Here, this is it. This is the end of the line. You're either in or you're not from this point. So I think these guys have definitely got to be right on it all night. And with 2 races to do that as well, there's 2 opportunities to get it right, but also 2 opportunities to get it wrong.
Yep, exactly. It is all to play for right here and right now. Before we get started, I want to offer a very warm welcome to everybody on the Lamborghini Squadra Corsa YouTube channel. We've got YouTube open. I'll be saying hello to you and Chaz as well over the course of this broadcast. Any comments, anything you want to mention or ask us over the course of the show, don't hesitate. Pop a little comment in there. And as I say, this is going to be the regional final. It's very, very exciting for Chaz and I. We always look forward to this one when we're going to make a new star. And let's remember, these guys and gals are racing for the opportunity to represent the Lamborghini brand in their own regional championships. So Chaz, this is, for a virtual racing point of view, this is your chance to be a works driver for Lamborghini. Woohoo! That's quite spicy.
Oh, absolutely. There's no better opportunities, really. And the thing is, you know, you are literally representing Lamborghini. Like, who doesn't want to do that? Like, it's such a cool thing to be able to say that. Because, you know, there's still people out there that they don't understand the importance of sim racing or the level that it's got to now. You know, through the COVID pandemic, it was helped massively because we couldn't go racing for real. So everybody was brought to sim racing to see what it's done. And since then, it's just exploded even further. And now there's opportunities like this coming about. It's just epic to see it. And there are going to be some very, very happy people at the end of this competition. And rightly so.
Yep, absolutely. Everybody's a champion that's got to this stage. But in order for these types of competitions to take place, we need partners, sponsors, people involved to make it happen. And the one that helps us make this happen is, of course, the peripheral and hardware manufacturer Mosa. So let's take a quick look at what Mosa is all about.
And there we go, Mosa, the chief partner of this fantastic series. Big thanks to them. And of course, don't forget that you can pick up their amazing equipment, very sturdy equipment. That's how we've always described it, isn't it, Paul? You know, you see some of these wheels and bits of kit that we have on our sim racing rigs here at home. All over the world, everybody's got some form of hardware here and there. But Mosa stuff always seems really, really sturdy and beefy, as we'd say up in the north of the UK. It's proper kit, isn't it? And it looks gorgeous as well, because wheel design is a very difficult thing to get right while making it sturdy. Every Mosa wheel I've had with the forged carbon and the really hefty, clacky, flappy paddles on it, it's just, you can tell I'm getting excited about it now. They're amazing wheels, aren't they, mate?
Oh, they really are. And I've got, as you know, Chaz, and anybody who's kind of followed me on whatever over time knows, I've got a bit of an obsession with wheel rims. I really have. I've got 14 at the moment. Some are for sale. Follow me on Facebook Marketplace. But no, I have got an obsession with rims, and they do some beautiful ones. There's the truck driving range as well, which anybody who drives truck sims, that's a marketplace. Truck sims. I know we're going off subject, and I'm going to keep it short. You wouldn't think they were popular, but the names of brands that we shall not mention are massively popular on Steam, and no one's bringing wheels out. Mosa have come out, and it's top draw. So I just love the fact that they're willing to get into all the different spaces and help us try to improve our immersion in racing, in truck driving, whatever. It's a great company, I've got to say, with some really good gear.
Yeah, it really is. And at the end of the day, you know, it's not just racing that we simulate. You know, there's a lot of other games out there where it is truck driving, even just driving a car for the sake of driving a car as well. You know, they have realistic wheels for everything. They cover so many ranges. There's no gap in the market now, you can tell you that, because Mosa have made sure they've got it. But still, it's great to have them on board as a partner for this event, and we love having the support from them. And don't forget as well, this is a very serious competition with many avenues for drivers and competitors to get through. Luckily, while it can sometimes sound a little bit complicated, we've got David Tunitzer to guide us through the format of this event. Let's see how he explains it to us.
The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports is here for its 5th edition. Open to drivers from Europe, NALA region and APAC region, the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports promises an exciting and unforgettable show. In Europe, drivers will qualify at 4 different tracks: Imola, Red Bull Ring, Spa and Barcelona. The top drivers from each session will move on to the qualification races together with the wildcards. European drivers who finish in the top 4 during the qualification races will compete in the regional final at the famous Jerez de la Frontera circuit. In North America, Austin qualification begins at Watkins Glen on September 25th and September 27th, a battles for the APAC region. In both of these regions, the top 24 drivers from qualification will progress directly to their own respective online qualification and finals races. The NALA final will be on Sunday, October 13th, and 3 days later, on Wednesday, the 15th, will be the APAC final. European drivers will compete for the chance to win the overall championship and earn a spot in the Automobile Lamborghini Esports team. This final opportunity is open exclusively to European drivers at the Lamborghini World Finals in Jerez de la Frontera. Can't wait to see you guys on track.
Our very own champion, David Tunitzer, there explaining a little bit about the broader format for Lamborghini Esports. But Chaz, this is the NALA Regional Final, so for this one, things are a little bit different. We alluded to it at the top of the show, but these are 2 points-paying races, 2 35-minute races, preceded by a 15-minute qualification session for each race. Drivers go out there, and I'm going to consult my paper, 16 points for a victory, 12 for second, 10 for third, 8th for 4, and so on and so forth. Quite simple after that one, old boy. As soon as you get the points, whoever's got the most at the end of the competition is the champione. Sounds simple, doesn't it?
It sounds it, but when you're a driver, if I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be one of the drivers trying to do the maths, you know, even in more sort of casual sim racing events and championships that I've been in, trying to do the maths while driving, even trying to stick to fuel numbers, I can't do it. So when these guys have got this much pressure on them, you know, to succeed and make it to the end of something like this, it's going to be a high pressure environment tonight. It's something we've said about every one of the races that we've covered so far in this season of this, but tonight, when it comes down to this, it really boils up to it. there's just going to be so much on their shoulders. You know, every single lap they are going to be thinking, not just about what they're doing on the lap and focusing on either the car in front or behind and their apexes. They're going to be thinking about the opportunity of what they are racing in right now. It's interesting that we've got 2 qualifying sessions, though. That's one of the important bits of it, I think, because we don't have a first race and then a reverse grid, so people don't get a different advantage from the second one based on how they do in the first one. It's just a complete reset and you've got to do it again. So it's like a repeat race meeting. And I think that pressure of that second qualifying session is going to get to people a bit more than you would initially think.
And you know, that's exactly what I took away from this one as well. There's nowhere to hide. It's
No.
the easiest way to put it, isn't it? Because everyone's qualified, everyone's raced, everyone's got that experience of the track, the conditions, each other, the pressure of the big final. And then, as you say, the big word is reset. Everything resets. Clean sheet of paper minus the points. And then you go again. And I think that's what makes this incredibly difficult for the drivers, because often we've commentated together on these kind of races where you have a reverse grid second race. So if it goes completely sideways, you can kind of recover it by having a good grid slot for race 2 because you finished last.
Yeah.
Or if you have a great race, you can be strategic. Don't bother winning, finish 4th, and then you'll start 6th for race 2.
Yeah.
None of that here. You've got to go to the wall and you've got to get the massive points as soon as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that really this circuit as well is going to be a big pinch point. You know, there's so many elements of this track that are going to make it difficult to overtake and gain places. So adds even more impetus to how important qualifying is going to be. And obviously, when we talk about the circuit itself, we want to have a look around and give you a guide of this fantastic track. So we do have a hot lap video prepared, and we'll go for a lap of the Watkins Glen circuit, shall we?
Hey guys, we are today at the American Watkins Glen circuit. This is a very fast and high downforce track where you need to carry a lot of speed into the corners. Turn 1 is very important. You need to use the 3rd gear and go on the power as soon as possible. It's important to have a nice exit because it comes right before the longest straight of the circuit on this layout. We then stay all to the left side of the track here to prepare for the inner loop S's, where you need to cut as much as you can and try to use as less steering as possible. For gear, throughout the outer loop, use little braking inputs to help the car rotate, and then use all the track on the exit. Entering the boot, we use the grey patch as our braking marker and stay in 3rd gear. Next is toe corner, where we need to carry a lot of speed in, using the elevation to our advantage. Early on the power to use all the track available and have a nice exit. Stay on the left side of the track and use the 200 feet marker as a reference for braking. Careful not to overshoot, you can lose a lot of time here. Use all the track on the left side to get a good exit, and then all to the right to prepare for the next corner. We are going over crest, 2nd gear, very smooth on power, right side of the track. We tap the brake to make the car rotate, max out all the track limits on the exit, and then prepare for the last corner. It's important to have a good exit here and use every bit of track, avoiding the wall on the left side. This was a lap around Watkins Glen. Have fun on track and good luck, guys.
And that was, of course, a lap of the beautiful Watkins Glen International Circuit in Assetto Corsa Competizione with Lamborghini driver Danny Savini behind the wheel. So thank you, Danny, for taking your time out of your busy schedule to show us a few tips and tricks about this difficult track. And Chaz, this is a difficult track. We've alluded to this already. Like a lot of tracks in North America, God bless your circuits in North America, by the way, it is old school. It's not being ruined by masses of runoff. You're not 4,000 feet away from the nearest corner. It is old school. There's trouble, there's potential mayhem. But when you get it right, it is a sweet place to drive.
Oh, it absolutely is, yeah. There's not many circuits where I think I'd prefer to hot lap it than actually race on it. And I think Watkins Glen is actually one of those circuits, to be honest with you. It's just a joy to drive. It can be a bit of a nightmare when there's other cars on track. I mean, look at the bus stop chicane, for example, the boot section, as we call it, because quite simply it's shaped like a shoe. There's going to be a lot of overtaking down there, and as a driver it's always a nightmare when you just want to have a lovely lap around this place and someone lobs it up the inside. This is the entry list though for this NALA regional final. Then we've got William Hendrickson, the number 1 car for tonight. He's going to certainly have a target on his back there. We have Jeremy Mercer with him. Luis Amaral is the Brazilian driver. Ali Raza, Quinn Smith and Mateus Alves, the top 6. Thomas Ortiz, the Chilean driver, to keep an eye on there in car 7, with Diego Carnin, Lennon Bromfield and Jonathan Clifford, the top 10. Nicolas Diaz and Argentinian Emmanuel Lopez are the top 12, Paul, of the 24 drivers.
Yep, 7 different nationalities represented in this regional. Daniel Galvio in car number 13. Milano Alvarez, 14th position. Hunter Page from Canada is car number 15. Brian Pearson will be representing the United States in car number 16. Number 17 is Nicholas Petrone, and then in car number 18 is Daniel McNulty. Max Broman in 19th, 20th position is Daniel Gutierrez, then Brian Duffy, Johnny Ackerman, Aldo Rossi, and Jose Caligaris is the 24th seeded car. And so it's worth mentioning this, Chaz, especially if our North American and South American audience are a bit new to this one. They get their numbers from their position in the hot stint qualification session. It's not seeding per se, but it's a great representation visually for us to see who was quick and quicker during the qualifying phase, which gives us a little bit of a flavour of who to look out for come race day.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's interesting for us as commentators because we always get to see how people perform against their seed number, as we call it. So we call it seeding based on where they performed before and why they've inherited that number. And we have seen a lot of these drivers with double digits end up inside the top 4 when we've had 4 qualifying drivers go through, especially in the European regions as well. So yeah, I think that's great to have that because also for the drivers, I feel that's something to focus on as well. So you'll go into this, I mean, if you look at Jose Caligaris, he's going to look into this and think, right, I'm the 24th driver. Anybody I beat here means that I've exceeded my seed number. And he can be happy with that. But at the same time, you know, he won't be happy with anything other than a win because these guys are ridiculously competitive. His flag, by the way, I'm a real stickler for flags. I love me a flag. I've not seen that flag in a long time. It's actually the flag of Nicaragua, which is an amazing place, I've heard so many times from people. But yeah, great to have the nation of Nicaragua represented here tonight. It's not just the United States or Brazil or Canada in here. We've even got the Chilean driver Thomas Ortiz as well, Mexican drivers in the field, and even Argentina represented. So a fantastic mix, I think, Paul, and this is certainly going to be a spicy concoction around this great circuit. I mean, look at the toe section of the boot there. What a difficult corner that is to get right. That's going to be a key overtaking opportunity, I think.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for all of these drivers. And as we've said many, many times, that Lamborghini put these kind of events on so people from this region, and these are not professional drivers, let's remember. These are not guys and gals that are driving and working professionally for esports teams and manufacturers. This is just folks like you and I that are good at what they do, unlike you and I, which are not, that can go into a competition and race for that opportunity to uplift their potential to turn this, hopefully for them, into a profession further down the road. And these are the kind of things that I very much enjoy. We're on the precipice for these drivers of something being very, very substantial in their life come the checkered flag at the end of race 2. It's going to be very different to the way they started the day. So that's really exciting for me, and it's great to have you alongside with me, Chaz. It's great to have our audience watching at home or chatting away already on the YouTube chat. It's great to have you all here supporting and cheering on for their particular drivers. A lot of Brazilian support, it seems, in the audience as well. And coming into this first race, a bit of an unknown, methinks, for these drivers. The first time they'll have all together. What are we expecting to see, Chaz, apart from chaos and carnage, of course? Joke, of course.
We're going to get a very interesting mix in this first race because you've got to remember, as you've rightly pointed out there, Paul, not really this whole field has all raced against each other before. They may have seen each other in a couple of esports competitions here and there, different league organisers and so on, but it's the fact that they're going into it with a bit of an unknown as well as to who their competitors are, how they drive. We've all seen a league race here and there in sim racing where, you know, there's a little bit of contact, a little bit of argy-bargy here and there because you don't know what to expect from the other drivers around. And I mean, the go bowling bridge there is quite the added quite the impetus to the situation. Let's hope nobody does go bowling down at turn 1 here. But we're about to get this underway, and you can see they're very tidily lined up at the front of the grid. They're going to have a formation lap, as of course we have a rolling start for this race. But I don't know, Paul. I think we're going to see a mixture of drivers that really go for it and go, I wouldn't say over the top, but, you know, all guns blazing in the first couple of laps. And we are going to see a few drivers that take it easy in the early stages, because it's not an hour-long race like we've seen in other competitions before, so they don't need to think so much about the tyres. They might feel a bit of an effect by the end of the race, but I think it's going to be a bit more flat out than some of the 1 hour races we've had before.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with that one. And of course, you can see from these particular shots now on the formation, there's a lot of tyre marbles at the side of the circuit. The circuit surface is quite dark as well, which suggests that we're entering this race with a heavily rubbered in track. So the circuit layout, the tarmac itself, is going to give up quite a bit of grip for these drivers during the start of this event, which hopefully should inspire a little bit of confidence for a few of these guys and girls on track. And let's remember, points paying in this championship all the way down to 10th place. 10th place earns a singular point. Victory earns 16. You've got to score the points in order to be in with a shout at being the champion at the end of it. So there will be an element of, do I want to risk a solid top 5 position? But again, with the points difference of a couple of points between each place, there's a lot of incentive there for you to continue to push on, Chaz, isn't there? And just try and maximise your haul, because we've seen it so many times. You can dominate race 1 and race 2 go to absolute toilet paper in a second and your competition's over.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very easy for it to go that way around. You know, the drivers have to be on it lap after lap, and they cannot give a single thing away at a night like this. You know, it's going to be mighty, mighty difficult. But I think one of the key things is just that regardless of how a race is going, it's so important to continue on. We've said this a few times over the European qualifiers as well, that we've seen drivers have one small hiccup and then quit straight off the bat. And we're not going to mention any names, but it's all about how it looks. It's a shop window, as Paul has rightly said before. It's how it looks to Lamborghini, how it looks to the brand, how it looks to the team. Regardless of whether you win or not, or get right to the end, it could be that for whatever circumstance they need to call upon you again at another point. And if they see that regardless of your finishing position, you were still an absolute star on the night, or you embodied the spirit that they want to have in the team, then they will call on you because of that. You know, if you really do show that you've got the fighting spirit and you do this for the right reasons, then that could be enough in some cases. It's interesting like that, isn't it?
Yeah, strongly agree with you on that one. This is, as you say, a shop window's a great way of putting it. This is an opportunity.
You said it.
Spin it back. But you're right. This is a potential opportunity, especially in North America, which for us Europeans gets a little bit less exposure, it's fair to say, than your standard European leagues. For some of these drivers, this will be the first time that people, movers and shakers in the industry, have got eyes on them. They'll have seen the statistics and their various track record, but this will be the first time that eyeballs have been focused on a lot of the names that we see in this field. And first impressions go a very, very long way indeed. So we're looking for speed, we're looking for racecraft, we're looking for skill, but we're also looking for, as you said, someone that can help embody the brand of Lamborghini and the values and the heritage that also come with it. But enough of that one though, folks, because it feels like it's a good opportunity for things to get really, really indeed. So here we go then. It is the NALA Regional Final, race number 1 of the night of the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. William Hendrickson is the car number 1 on pole position, and he gets a very nice start into T1, an early race lead from Ortiz in second place. The number 7 yellow Lamborghini slots in position. Clifford as well for good measure. Makes it 3 cars squabbling over the same bit of racetrack, and for the first time we go to one of the biggest pinch points of this entire Watkins Glen circuit.
We do indeed. It's Mosa that's moved up ahead of Clifford actually for that third place. He had a really good getaway, moved over to the side. It's almost side by side for the race lead though, and Hendrickson is on the inside. It's a little bit early though for Ortiz to be doing that, because he's going to cause an even bigger pinch point through that bus stop chicane if he tries to slow the pack down. This is the thing though, they sometimes have to work together for these points and try and break away from the field to stop everybody battling, but other times you want to see drivers trying to break away and push. That's what Hendrickson's got to do now. He's in the box seat here. in that very subtle green Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. Bit of movement further back, 5th and 6th place. That's Alves trying to get past Smith. Cars 5 and 6 in P5 and 6 as well. That's very pleasing. But look in the top 10 there, Paul. Car 24, Caligaris. He is way above that seeding position we mentioned earlier, up in 9th place. He's had a fantastic night already and really one lap in.
Yeah, that's a really good bit of driving from Caligaris. Doing well so far, well in the 10, in the position where points might be played. Jonathan Mercer, that we're looking at there, car number 2 in 3rd position. He's had a good start. He's already got part of the job done. Survive lap 1, survive T1. That is the aim of the game, and then it's a case of resetting and seeing what you can do. But Hendrickson at the front of the field, already stealing a march over the field as we cross the timing beam for the very first time. William Hendrickson has a comfortable 1 second plus lead at the front of the field. All eyes though on Ortiz in 2nd, Mercer in 3rd, and winding a little bit further back. This is Alves. Oh, contact into the wall for the number 6. Alves' day has gone from decent to disaster. Hopefully he's going to get that thing running again, Chaz. But again, early laps, cold tyres, cold brakes, a little bit of light contact can have the most dramatic of consequences.
Yeah, he threw it up the inside as a bit of a fake there down the inside of Quinn Smith, and then Quinn actually fell for it, went a little bit deep into the corner, and then when that had happened, Alves got straight on the throttle again, but he just completely overdid it and just drove into the side of his competitor. We do often see people run very wide out of turn 1. It's almost like synonymous with Watkins Glen, but it seemed like Smith did not want to do that there. I wouldn't really put any blame on him for that one, but yeah, it just seemed like Alves misjudged that one a little bit, bounced off the side of his competitor, and I'm afraid he's ended up losing a lot of positions, and that's only at the end of the first lap as well. It's early in the night to be doing that. He just tried the fake, and I think he was he lured himself into that move, I think, there, Paul. I think he sold himself a bit of a dummy.
Yeah, that's a real shame. As far as I can tell, he's still on the racetrack, which is one up on Brian Duffy, who unfortunately is in pit lane as well. He's 21st on the timing screen. 3 other drivers failed to make the start of this race. So real shame for Brian Duffy, and real shame, of course, for Alvarez as well. Let's have a look now who we're looking at here. This is the fight in 8th, 9th and 10th position. There is Cagnin in 9th place, just keeping on watching. It's been a relatively steady start to the race for a lot of these drivers. They're kind of feeling the way in, Chaz. Explore the limits of what's available to them, and that's not necessarily a bad play. That's quite a sensible strategic tactic at this stage.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not like a 16-round championship that they're just getting underway. They've only got 2 races, and they're on the same night as well. This is, while there is 2 races, this is very much a one-shot, as we'd say in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. But they have so much pressure on them that you never want to be on the back foot. You don't want to go into that second race thinking, right, what do I need to make up for now? You have to get 1 foot forward here with this first race. So I do feel like this is going to be the more tame of the 2. And then the second race of the night, when people are really scrambling for that very final opportunity for points, that's when we're going to get them going at it now. And look at this, Karnin looking down the inside of Alvarez. Alvarez went way too hot through the bus stop chicane. He's overshot there through what would be the carousel on the club layout. Karnin goes through around the outside, bit of a wobble of his own there, but into the boot section. He's got a decent run, although Alvarez actually wants a piece of this back. Behind them the whole time, Page is looking as well. Down the inside goes Page now in car 15. Just sticks it to the inside of the toe section. Cars 14 and 15 remain side by side. This is good for Karnin though, because he's gained that place. Now it looks like they're going to battle behind Paul. That's perfect scenario for him, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a cheap overtake, and then, like you say, the advantage firmly at the back of the shop. The 3rd car in this little trio of squabbles. He had a bit of a nibble at the back of Alvarez, but now he's under pressure from Bowman behind. So Bowman buying into this one as well. Good bit of driving from the number 19 machine getting involved. And we've seen this so many times, and absolutely at Watkins Glen as well is prone to this sort of behaviour. You get involved in a squabble, you're going to start hemorrhaging time, and you're going to bring yourself into the orbit of the cars behind, and that's exactly what we're seeing. But Emiliano Alvarez has a bit of breathing space, which the number 14 will be more than grateful for, I think, at this stage. And I dare say Hunter Page has got his mirrors full of Bowman, which is going to be bringing them into the fight with Gutierrez and Diaz behind in the not too distant future.
I've heard of rubbing salt in the wound, Paul, but unfortunately for Duffy, while he is 2 laps down and seemingly out of the race, he's got a 30-second stop-go penalty as well. I think they've taken the lid off the salt shaker there and just poured it on him, the poor sausage. But unfortunately, his night not going as he would have wanted to, I'm afraid. Down there in 21st place, car 21 though, fittingly. We have Mercer on our screens now, made it up to 3rd place off the start after beating Clifford down towards turn 1. That menacing black and silver Lamborghini behind is definitely not out of the picture yet. Ortiz is going well in 2nd, but doing nothing about Hendrickson. He was the number 1 car coming into this and has been an absolute star in this region so far. And to be honest, it's no news is good news for him, as he now has a 2.8 second lead in these early stages. Spoke about tyre life at the top end of the show, Paul, because let's not forget, you and I have become tuned into these 1-hour races in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Esports competition so far. But now we've got half an hour, the tyre life isn't going to be so important. So this initial push by Hendrickson, I think, in other races would have worried us. We would have thought, but later that car's going to feel like backside, for lack of a better phrase. But I don't think he's really going to feel any negative effect from this early stage push.
Yeah, 30 minutes, drive it like you stole it. That's the only way to do it. Just go absolutely flat chat and then see what happens. We should be absolutely fine. It's the Lamborghini Trofeo car, of course. It's not a GT3, so it is a little bit more mobile underneath the driver's backside. It is squirrely compared to a GT3 car, but 30 minutes on these Pirelli boots should be absolutely fine for these drivers. Jeremy Mercer, by the way, doing a bit of a yo-yo job at this moment in time. The minute we look at him, he's climbing all over the back of the 7. The next minute we look at him, he's kind of coming under pressure from Jonathan Clifford behind. It does seem like Mercer is on a charge forward on this occasion, but this shows Chaz and the folk at home just how difficult it is to pass around this circuit. Although, is that no, that's a back marker just getting out of the way, so a bit of traffic as well is going to help us. We'll look at Daniel McNulty around the outside. That's a risky place to do it. Well done, son. All the commitment in the whole wide world and a fair bit of faith as well that Alves is going to give him the racing room, and McNulty moves on to 15th. A good pass there.
Yeah, that was brave around the outside into there, especially as Lopez was right with him. McNulty's gone sideways though. He says, have it back. Thanks very much, mate. I'll go through down the inside. Everyone loves a freebie. And now Lopez goes back in front of him. All that work undone there, all that bravery from Daniel McNulty has gone down the drain. That was an interesting one indeed. Great save, though, because it was so close to just putting one wheel on the grass there. And all you need to do is just dip that one slick tyre onto that grass and it will go around faster than you can say my competition's over. So, unfortunately for McNulty, he's now got to do all of that again. And it seems like Lopez has picked up the pace slightly since that moment. There was an incident, as you see there, on lap 1 between cars 17 and 18, the one that we look at right now, and it was car 17, Petroni, that ended up with a 15-second penalty. He's actually a bit further down the order as well, so maybe as a result of the contact they had, that's why he's dropped back. It seems like, McNulty looked like he had a lot of understeer there. That wall comes at you mighty quick, doesn't it, Paul, at the final corner?
I'm absolutely certain from every lap I've done on this circuit that that wall moves towards you as you're approaching it the number of times that I've made contact. There's got to be, absolutely. And it definitely has it in for me as we're looking out at Max Bowman down in 11th position. This is important for Max because he's in the first of the drivers that will not score a point in this race. So car number 19, Max Bowman, has got Hunter Page just ahead of him. Page has dropped off from his own particular fight with Alvarez and Carnin in front. So Bowman's got an opportunity to do something about this now and try and leverage the chance to get inside that top 10. By the way, 10-second time penalty for the 12th position car, Daniel Gutierrez. So a 10-second for that car will be applied, of course, at the end of the race. He'll run down the order, so that puts him pretty much out of contention as well, although he's still firmly in this battle pack.
And it's interesting as well for Bowman to know that as well, because in the sim itself, he will see that little marker next to his name that says the driver behind has got a 10-second penalty. So he knows, even if Gutierrez catches up with these guys now and tries to disturb this fight somewhat, Bowman doesn't need to worry about him. He could let him go through. If he ends up being quicker than them over the next few laps, he could let Gutierrez go and let him attack Hunter Page and use him as a bit of a key to the door and then try and get into that top 10 himself when the result is declared at the end and all the penalties are applied. But still, a very tame race so far, Paul. We're over a third of the way through it. I can't believe that's already gone by. It feels like we're only on lap 2. But these things certainly go by when you're having fun. And while it is a tame one, it's still a tantalising one because everybody's on the edge of their seats here waiting for a mistake from each other. The pressure is certainly high, but it seems like these guys are soaking it up very, very well.
And I do think the magnetic wall at the final corner did claim another big victim in the background. I think it was sort of the Pearson, Lopez, Ackerman region that we saw at the back of our shot. Petroni, by the way, is in pit lane now, so car number 17 in 20th place. Got that 15-second penalty. They've headed down pit lane. I hope that's not the last we see of that car, because that wouldn't be a good look at all for Nicholas Petroni. By the way, speaking of good luck, somebody who I've got to give some credit to, they're not in the conversation for a good result so far, but Brian Duffy, with the stop-go, with the pit stop earlier on, he's back on track and he's still circulating, so well done, Brian Duffy. That's the kind of mentality that I personally, and Chaz I'm sure as well, absolutely loves to see. You're in it, you see it through to the checkered flag. Well done to you.
Yeah, hats off. Absolutely hats off. You know, it's almost guaranteed that unless half the field retires, he's not going to get any points out of this. But as we said before, you have to show what you're made of in this. And if he's not a quitter, that is so, so important, even if his race hasn't gone his way. So, yeah, hats off to Monsieur Duffy. He's going to crack on with this race. And there is the result of the contact that caused him to be down there in the pits. And it seems like the stop-go penalty might have actually been automatically applied by the sim itself. I'm not sure, but we'll see. He is now a bit justified with the fact that it was a 10-second penalty for car number 20, which is Gutierrez. That's where that penalty came from. And I'm told as well by our wonderful producer, Ryan Gill, that we will usually see a stop-go penalty of 30 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. So obviously he's come in after the incident, a bit frustrated, as we all have, I'm sure, and overstepped the mark in terms of speed. Now this is getting closer and closer together all the time, but I think a back marker is in the way. There was nearly contact there. There was contact, and now a little bit more as well. And oh, I think Gutierrez there showing his displeasure with whoever that was one lap down there. Is that Petroni?
Petroni's just left pit lane and got a stop-go 30 for his trouble, so that's not working out so well for Nicholas as well. Seems like it's a tricky pit lane here at Watkins Glen, and you know if you go to pit lane in a 30-minute race, it's already going wrong. But even worse with the penalty. But Max Bowman, absolutely, he's lifted the skirt up big time on this one. He's really running with it. He's trying to find a way past Page ahead. Page, though, Hunter Page, doing a great job, not defending fresh air, hitting his marks, keeping his line, not getting overly excited. Oh, Alvarez, by the way, a drive through for the number 14 in 9th position. So Alvarez's day, Emiliano Alvarez, is going from bad to worse. I'm hearing the sweet tones of Ryan in my ear whispering that is possibly a track limits violation rather than something our live in-race stewards have issued. So, that's not good for Alvarez. That's going to take him away from the points and move Max up to 10th.
Yeah, he's stood outside the track limits one too many times there, unfortunately, has Emiliano. Car number 14 going very well as well compared to his seed number. We'll actually have a look. We've just had an update as well from Fabio Frigo, the legend himself, saying that there's an incident between cars 14 and 24 actually on lap 1, which is where Caligaris dropped down after our commentators cursed him earlier on. It's a drive-through to car 14 for causing a collision. So clearly a more serious collision than some of the others we have seen. Ryan is telling us he will potentially get us a replay of that, so we'll try and bring you all of the updates from those moments earlier on in the race. Obviously, Paul and I know what it's like, and so does Ryan. So do you lot at home. It's never easy to try and catch everything that happens on lap 1, especially in a competition as high profile as this, where there are so many battles, so much pressure on the drivers. I mean, speaking of pressure, Page is really throwing it through the bus stop there, Paul. Looked like he'd gone in a little bit too hot, but somehow collected it all back up, and Bowman still is behind him.
Yeah, this one's turning into an absolutely beautiful battle, but let's take another look then at the replay, the cause of the dramas that we saw a little bit earlier on. That's the 24 in mid-pack, a little bit deep, gets back on the racing line, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Then you play some skittles, everybody collects into the fight, and so difficult as a driver. You're on maximum attack, you're pushing it to the limits, and the car just doesn't accelerate ahead as much as you think, and then it snow plows straight to the scene of the accident. And a little bit unfortunate for Alvarez, but a very justified drive-through penalty for the 14, methinks. By the way, that needs to be served pretty sharp. That was issued at least a lap ago, so he's only got a couple to get down pit lane.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. There's only a small window. You can't use it to your advantage and do it when you so please later on. You have to do it pretty sharpish, like Paul said. A real shame there as well for Emmanuel Lopez. We saw actually Lopez was battling his way back through the order earlier on in the race, and that is why he's so far down, because he got caught up in somebody else's accident. That's another part, though, of Watkins Glen that's really difficult. Some sections of this place, because, I mean, look at the barriers there. Because of how close the barriers are to the circuit on either side, it's got a street circuit vibe to it. You do not get away with anything around here, as we look now at a change for 4th position. Smith there, down the inside of Clifford. No big red dogs here, just a big black Lamborghini that looks very menacing, and Clifford loses the place. Looked again like Smith had overdone it in that bus stop. But you know what? Gets it all tidy, all cleared up. And that's actually helped out as well. Jeremy Mercer just in front of them. Jeremy's now got a good few car lengths between these pair. That's worst case scenario there for Clifford, because not only has he lost the car that he was chasing for a podium spot, he's also got another one between them now, and then a few seconds.
Yeah, did you see the rotation on Clifford's car? The number 10 after that move, absolutely on the line up sideways. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. This is a great fight as well. A little bit further down, I've been keeping my eye on this one on the timing streams, but looking at Johnny Ackerman in car number 22. He's got Lopez just ahead, and then Calgaris, as you say, on a bit of a recovery drive, it has to be said, behind. But at the moment, Ackerman is the one that's trying to forge a way past. They have been glued together. He's been climbing all over the back of that car in front for a number of laps, doing a bit of grass cutting as well, for good measure, is Johnny Ackerman. But as things stand, everybody seems to be about as scruffy as the other one, don't they, Chaz, at this moment? No one's really hitting the apexes and minding the P's and Q's, and it's just a case of finding not an insubstantial amount of space that one needs to insert a Lamborghini into the corner ahead of your rival. And so far, Lopez is the one that has the pound seats, but Ackerman most definitely looks like he is in a hunting position.
So too does Bowman here, right up behind Page.
Right up behind Page, perfect segue, that's Hunter Page. Come on, Chad. You could have done better on that one.
I'm so sorry, Paul. I'm so sorry. I absolutely fell over Page's first name, Hunter, because I was looking for car 9, even though it's car 15. But there you go, professional commentator Chaz Drake. Everybody, get me a gig. Bowman, 10th position at the moment, but certainly the one that's in the pound seat now, really trying to have a go at the car in front. Interesting as well to see these guys close together, because Ackerman has been around this position all race. The cars either side of him here, Lopez and Caligaris, both started further up, just inside the top 10, and both fell down due to the same incident here. So Caligaris is going to feel a little bit hard done by, knowing how much further up the order he could be, and same with Lopez as well, because it wasn't his accident. Alvarez has just suddenly dropped down into the disqualification section at the bottom with Petroni. So those two cars now officially disqualified and out of the race, unfortunately for them. Whether we see them return for the second race of the evening is yet to be seen. You'd hope so, but right now Ackerman, well, he's not thinking about the second race yet. He's thinking about how he can get down the inside of Lopez's number 12 machine here, starting to really put an attack on. And this is the moment where Caligaris needs to close in on the pair of them now, though, Paul, because he's got this opportunity to pick off any remaining pieces that fall from this, as Alves is still in a battle as well with Gutierrez.
Yeah, this is another little fight as well. Again, these are in the positions just outside of the points playing places. Alves is currently the cork in the proverbial bottle, it seems, defending for everything he is worth as things stand. Diaz and Pearson are the two cars that are keeping a watching brief. Just ahead, you can see Page and Bowman fighting tooth and nail as well, as the timing screens are just waiting to update themselves a little bit. And there was Johnny Ackerman's attempt. It failed, and instead of gaining, he's lost a position. So Ackerman is not having a great day in the office whatsoever. Although with 9 minutes, 54 seconds left on the clock, opportunity will be aplenty to have another roll of that there dice for car number 22. But as things stand, it is now Calgaris' opportunity to see if he's got the beans to find a way past Lopez.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, these guys are still going at it as if it's for the race lead, even though it's not for a point-scoring position as this competition stands. And that's what you want to see, regardless of what position you're in. The guys are still fighting. They're still trying to get every potential opportunity they can, because let's not forget, Paul, they have another race coming up later on tonight. And if I say later, it's only in about 10-15 minutes time. But of course, they have to have the mental advantage over the other drivers that they're sharing the track with. Some of these guys haven't shared the circuit, virtual or real, before, so now they get this chance to certainly make a first impression. You said it yourself earlier that first impressions are so important. That applies to your other races as well, because no matter what competition you come up against them, whether it's this scenario or in an endurance format, you want to make them remember you as be like, oh God, this guy's quicker than me, or this is the guy that sent it down the inside of me and made the move. As Smith and Clifford swap places and Clifford gets back into 4th place. Strong move there.
Yeah, really good move from both drivers. Gave each other racing room, the outcome that you like to see. Good bit of hard and fair racing. The bright purple / pink machine, though, of that's Quinn Smith, isn't it? The car in the purpley pinky one. He's going to be very interested indeed at seeing what he can do about Clifford in front. Again, you get that decision point as a driver in a competition like this. Is it worth laying it on the line for the 2 additional championship points? I reckon it is, and Quinn Smith reckons it is as well. The outside line is a risky place to be. Can he nip the car back? No. That is beautiful car placement from Clifford. Makes it so there is absolutely no sniff of an opportunity for Quinn Smith to find a way past. Both drivers exit the corner very firmly indeed. No need to defend the inside line because the overlap does not exist. And I do think that Jonathan Clifford is performing a wonderful defensive driving masterclass here. Not overreacting, Chaz, not getting too leery behind the wheel, just following his line, following his braking points. Don't give a sniff of an opportunity to Smith, and there's literally nowhere he can place his car, and on they go, trying desperately to stay in touch with Jeremy Mercer up there in 3rd.
Yeah, it's brilliant as well to see that as the driver defending here, Clifford isn't giving away any signs that he feels under pressure. Because if you're the driver chasing and you can force the car in front of you to have to go down the inside or brake a bit earlier and make changes to their usual racing lines and braking points, you know that you're in their head. You know that you're filling their mirrors enough and putting them off, and that can give you the mental advantage. And while the other driver doesn't think they've lost the mental game there, they've started to, because they've already referenced it. So to be able to do that to your other competitors and obviously drive around as if they're not behind you is a really strong mental trait that we're seeing there from Clifford. And you're absolutely right. He was putting the car in the middle of the road where necessary, not overdoing it on the defence and compromising himself too much. He was putting the car right in the right place at the right time and giving the car behind no options. That's the thing. You can give them an option of going one way or not getting past at all, or you can learn to put the car in a place where they have no options to get by without compromising yourself. Bowman gets a run here on Page. Page has a big old wobble out of the first corner, but up the S's, he's just going to run into the back of him basically, and theoretically anyway, he's not going to have anywhere to go here, Paul. Again, no options.
Yeah, but the Hunter Page, though, is leaving that inside. He's concerned about defending it. Got a good run, though, from Bowman. Will he look to the inside? No. Sense prevails. Backs off a little bit early. Follows him through the twisties. You don't want to be side by side here. It is so easy for your rival to show you the outside of the racetrack. And if anything, Bowman then gets a little bit leery over the curb. Alves decides, you boys are having a rare old time up here. I'll have a piece of that cake as well. Thank you very much. He invites himself to the table. But on this opportunity, there's no seats in which he can sit down. So Alves keeps in the 3 of these 3 cars, 9th, 10th and 11th position. There's the opportunity. Plus a little nose up there. Bowman gives him a sniff of an opportunity. There's a little kiss. There's a little tap just to let you know I'm there. And it would stay as we are for now. But I'll say something for nothing for Bowman. That was more luck than fortune that car didn't pirouette straight to the scene of the accident.
I'm surprised the back of that teal Lamborghini isn't brown now. Never mind, completely teal all over. Flipping heck, that was very scary stuff. But great opportunism by Alves there. I'm all for that. He saw a gap. He saw that Bowman was going in a little bit hot. I don't think Bowman expected him to be able to get it stopped and get the nose up the inside there, which is why there ended up being contact. I don't necessarily think he cut his nose off or did anything wrong. I just think he misjudged the fact that Alves was able to come from that far back and get down the inside. Speaking of coming from far back, we've got Mercer here, a couple of car lengths behind Ortiz, but he's never faded away here. The race leader, Hendrickson, is gone by over 10, nearly 11 seconds now, which is just a masterclass. But these guys have kept it nice and formal in 2nd and 3rd positions. We've got Ortiz, the Chilean driver, and then Mercer from the United States, car number 2. So he's certainly seeded to be right up there as well. Won't be happy that he's lower than his seed position, but still on for a podium, so I'm sure he'll be at least finding a bit of a silver lining in all of that. He's on his way to 10 points in this competition. And let's not forget as well, Paul, that Alves, Bowman and Page battle is for the final point-scoring spots. You and I have both seen championships separated by less than 1 point before. There's no saying that tonight is going to be any different.
Yep, Andy Prio had a famous saying back in the mid-2000s in the world of touring cars: take every single point that is available to you, because you don't want to lose it by 1 at the end of the year because you were trying to be a little bit clever. And that's exactly what applies in this one. If there's a point on the table, take the risk. Go for it. Better to try and fail than not to try at all. And Jeremy Mercer, we were just suggesting that Ortiz and Mercer have been very professional about the race, just following each other, sussing each other out, but not really going at it hammer and tongs. Well, I reckon Jeremy Mercer has about had enough of the rear of that number 7 Lamborghini ahead, and he looks very much like a man. Body language suggests he's very much a driver that is on the ascendancy now and trying to find a way to work his way past that yellow and purple machine. Ain't going to be easy though. Ortiz definitely knows there's a threat. This is the opportunity. A bit of slipstream, a good run for Mercer for good measure as well. We've seen this before though. Is this a passing place? Not always, but Mercer looks to the inside. Will he be the last of the late breakers? Yes, he will. Do they give each other room? A little bit of contact, secondary contact as well. Mercer has to escape onto the access road. He's going to be compromising car number 2. This is Clifford's opportunity now, from the attacker to the defender. The black machine of Clifford looks one way, looks the other way. Quinn Smith in the background as well decides the outside line is where I want to be. Will he see the grass though, or will he stay on the tarmac? He does. Smith nips back in. Clifford does an attack, and our man Mercer will be wondering what day of the week it was after that little shenanigans.
He didn't need to do it. He did not need to do it. He could have just tried to keep putting pressure on Ortiz there and not been impatient about that. He didn't have to make the move. He could have just sat behind him, tried to sell him the dummy here and there, and waited to see if Ortiz cracked. Sure, there's 2 points difference between 3rd and 2nd, but I don't think he was close enough for long enough to risk throwing it up the inside like that. I would have said give it 1 lap, just give it an extra lap to see where you might be quicker a little bit later on the brakes maybe than your competitor. See why you've suddenly caught them up, you know, what is going on in their head, where you're going to make them put the car. But Mercer went for it straight away, and I'd say, Paul, he's very lucky to still be in 3rd position there. He really did survive that one with, well, the best possible outcome, I think. But Clifford and Smith, they're not mucking about either now. They're close on this one, and I think that Smith will happily sit behind Clifford now and let that slipstream drag them back up to a potential podium position.
Yep, thoroughly agree with you on that one. That could have gone down the toilet very, very quickly indeed for Jonathan. So Jeremy Mercer, but he is in 3rd position. Unbelievably, he's still not a million miles away from the conversation for position number 2. So that fight will continue again. Clifford is now on the defensive. We've seen the number 10 be very robust in the way that that car is positioned. And once again, Jonathan Clifford even, is doing a very stout job up there in 4th place, not overreacting to the charge of Quinn Smith behind and giving Quinn precisely 0 opportunity. And look at this one, Chaz. Less than a minute on the clock. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th position, separated by about a blink and a half of an eye. Fabulous.
Absolutely brilliant. Exactly what we wanted here tonight. I said earlier, didn't I, that this is probably going to be one of the most exciting race nights of the competition. And this has certainly proved it so far with how close these drivers are together. Admittedly, in some of the qualifying races before, it's almost been a predetermined result because the top 4 have broken away and disappeared over the horizon with no changes to the end of the race. This time, anybody could finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th out of this quadruplet, or, well, no, what would it be? A quartet, sorry. Flipping heck. English, Chaz. But then even behind, if something goes wrong here, there could be drivers in the wings in the background waiting to pick up points. We're going to have 1 more lap left to go, though, as Hendrickson has now crossed the line after completing 17 laps with a substantial lead. Let's see what it is as Ortiz crosses the line. Is it somewhere near 12 seconds? Never mind that. It's 15 and a half seconds to the 2nd place car, Ortiz. I can't help but laugh, Paul. That's ridiculous by Hendrickson. What a performance. Because, I mean, no news is good news here. We've not seen him.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fabulous stuff from William Hendrickson. From position to the race lead to off into the distance unchallenged. But this is where the fun is. Quinn Smith made a little bit of mistake into T1. He's fallen away from this battle pipe now. So the pink car that you see at the back of your shot of Quinn Smith, car number 5, in position number 5. I think his charge is pretty much over for this first race. Jonathan Clifford has now got an opportunity to turn a defensive masterclass into a last minute throw of the dice on the attack as well. Jeremy Mercer in 3rd position is holding off. He'll be interested to see if he can get in contact with Ortiz in 2nd, and this Chaz is going to go hopefully cleanly to the flag, but who's going to take it is anyone's guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if there are no position changes between now and the end of this race, we can still say this has been one of the most exciting chases to the end, because this has got me on the edge of my seat here. Mercer is right up behind Ortiz again. We've seen before he's not one to wait around, and he's not doing it now. He looks down the inside, tries to sell him the dummy. Ortiz has gone a little bit deep, but I don't think it's enough for Mercer to get through. Watch Clifford, though. He's going to try and move to the left-hand side now. Hendrickson up in the distance is going to win this race, definitely, but it's now a case of who's going to finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. There is Hendrickson across the line. He takes 16 points from the first race of the night, but this quartet, I've got it right this time, is coming into the final corner now, Paul.
Yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. 2nd, 3rd and 4th position all as one. Through the final corner, though, Ortiz is the one that holds on to the death. There is the checkered flag, and my goodness me, he's going to be a relieved driver indeed to see that one. He does take it at the end. Jeremy Mercer rounds out the podium finishes. Jonathan Clifford couldn't quite do enough after a great defensive drive in 4th position, and that small mistake from Quinn Smith took him out of that particular battle pack to cross the line in 5th. Luis Amaral finished in 6th at the end. Diego Carnin was in 7th position. Lennon Broomfield had a good run to 8th at the flag. Hunter Page finished in 9th place, and Mateus Alves crossed the line in 10th position for the final point. Provisionally, of course, until all the protests and investigations have been done and we can finalise the result. Man, oh man, that was fun. Let's do it again in about 3 minutes, yeah?
Yeah, please. That was excellent. Absolutely excellent. That was really solid stuff. But again, you saw the different elements of Watkins Glen. There's slipstreaming sections. There's multiple corners here as well, importantly, that have different lines that you can take through them. We saw drivers taking a late apex to focus on the run on the exit of the corner, you know, as you go into the boot section, as you come out of the toe part of the boot section as well, and even out of the final corner. We saw drivers going in a little bit deep to try and defend down the inside, and then they ran wide on the exit and didn't have the run down the start-finish straight. So I think now that the drivers have all raced against each other a little bit, they're going to now figure out who they can battle hard and who they maybe need to worry about a little bit. Mercer will be thanking his lucky stars there to still come away with 10 points after that. He's very, very lucky, I think. But, you know, no disrespect to him, ran a brilliant race, but that one decision could have changed it all even more than it did. He held the position he was in at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think, as you say, he wasn't straight into the scene of the accident, but you've got to roll the dice. I'd like to see that one.
Yeah.
You made a mental calculation, I hope, and thought 2 points. Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. You've got to go for it. And it's great to see, but Chaz, we suggested this at the top of the show, and now we've got race 1 in the bag. I think we can revisit it quite confidently. For a lot of these drivers, they know what they did in race 1. They know what the points that they've achieved are going to be. For a lot of these drivers, it's going to be throw all caution to the wind for the second race, because that's the only option they're going to have to be in with a shot.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that this competition does well is, I mean, looking at the points I've got in front of me here, it rewards the victory very well, because you get 16 points for first place, 12 for second, meaning a gap of 4 between them. It's then 2 points different per position for a couple of them, and then it's just 1 after that. So that jump up to first place is so important, and one of the only ways really to take this competition now. So if you are William Hendrickson in this second race, he could probably finish in 3rd position and still be very comfortable. But it's whether he allows that. Like you said, the Andy Prio comment earlier on, you have to take every point that's available to you. If he somehow comes into this now thinking, 3rd will do, you know, I'll be all right, and somebody miraculously wins this and then he finishes in 4th because he's played it too safe, he could lose the opportunity. And you have to go for it. You really do. And it's the same for people further down. You know, there's a lot of people there that have only scored 1, 2, 3, even 0 points. They're going to have to lob themselves at this, for lack of a better word, and really go for this final race.
Well, let's put it this way, Chaz. Looking at my timing screen in front of me, the William Hendrickson question. 1 second faster than the next fastest man in terms of lap times. A 55.220 was his fastest lap versus a 56.2 on average for pretty much everybody else. The man's got pace to spare at this moment in time. We need to look out for, unlike race 1, we're going to see qualifying in a few moments' time. Let's have a look at, see if he can get that car on pole. If he can, it's all about the start for his rivals. But you know, well, actually I'm saying you know it and I know it, we don't because we're slow. But I assume I'm going to extrapolate my knowledge of motoring in that when you're at the front and you're dominant, that's almost as difficult as being in the pack because you can have a mental lapse, you can lose concentration, you're not pushing and the adrenaline's not flowing. And that's when it can go very, very wrong.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when you've not got the other cars to chase and battle with in the middle of the pack, when it's just down to you and you're just chasing numbers, it can be complacency. You can just try and lap, and I mean, I'm sure we've all had it in the sim at some point where you get into a bit of muscle memory, what you're doing lap after lap, and all of a sudden you have a bit of a flash, and you're like, oh god, what am I doing? And every single input you have, then every flappy paddle, every little tap of the brakes, you overthink it, and you think, oh, what am I doing? Any driver can have that at any level, and all of a sudden the race changes. So. Yeah, I think this second one is going to be mighty spicy. Here's a look back, though, at some of the fantastic pictures from that first race. The start was oh so important, though, wasn't it, Paul?
Absolutely, and it was a great start from William Hendricks, the head of the field. But then we got into a little bit of spice further down. This is Nicholas Petrone and Daniel McNulty getting wrapped up. And there we go, the accordion effect into the chicane. Oh, so easy, Chaz. Contact, unfortunately, was the end result.
Yeah, and it's a shame as well it affected multiple cars in one go. This was, I think, Duffy maybe going a bit further down. Yes, it's car 21. Duffy gets hit once and then twice. And then on the exit, even more contact. And look behind that as well. Car 22 in the wall. Oh, there's a few of them around there. I think damage actually really affecting the number 21 machine. Here is car 24. This is Caligaris. We saw this on the stream. He just gets shoveled and then really, really poor there for Emmanuel Lopez. Just completely bad luck. He's just got the incident happening in front of him. And this is Alves. This was the one that intrigued me. He sells the dummy to the car in front. I think actually, car number 5, which was Quinn Smith, had to get on the brakes to avoid Clifford. And then Alves got caught out by that, but he just didn't compromise his exit enough.
Yeah, that is such a difficult pill to swallow. This is Jonathan Clifford, was in a little bit of strife earlier on as well. But look at that, I mentioned it on the sideways. The rotation of Clifford's black and silver machine was sensational as he tried desperately to get back on level terms again. And then there is the mistake, there is the door that opens. Jonathan Clifford's size hole has appeared. To the inside goes the black and silver Lamborghini, follows it through the apex, keeps everything under control, shows the edge of the racetrack as well, and that is a very fine overtaking opportunity and deliverance. Looking at car number 11 of Nicolas Diaz, this is a great little fight as well with the 20. I think of Daniel Gutierrez, side by side into T1. Not a traditional place to go side by side, but if you give each other the respect, can just about get two Lamborghini Super Trofeo Evo 2 cars through, and that is a position gained.
Yeah, lovely stuff that as well. Gutierrez just made a bit of a meal of the final corner, but then look at this. Instantly comes back at Nicolas Diaz. He puts the car in the middle of the road. He says, look, you've got the option here. Do you want to go down the inside? Do you want to go around the outside? Tries it on the outside into the bus stop. Real bravery through there. Love that. Tiny touch, but nothing too untoward. Great commitment that there by Daniel Gutierrez.
Yeah, fabulous stuff. And then this is a great fight as well. Thomas Ortiz, of course, and Jeremy Mercer. They have a little side-by-side moment into the chicane. So difficult to get two cars. The inevitable contact. Unfortunately, Mercer, as we said during the live, and even more so looking at it on the second time of asking, was a very fortunate driver indeed to survive that one to the end. At the front of the field, though, good fortune did not come into it for William Hendrickson. He came, he saw, and he conquered this opening race of the night. Took a victory by 15 plus seconds, which, quite frankly, is borderline ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the word I was going to use is terrifying for the other competitors, because he just drove away at the front. We've seen it before in this competition, and especially in the European regions, where there's been a driver that's been the number 1 seed going into it, where they've been fastest in the hot stint, they've qualified on pole position, and then they started the race and they've been in a battle straight away, and they haven't streaked over the horizon. They've been brought back into the pack, and honestly, it's just been amazing to see that. But at the same time, you have to respect what Hendrickson did there, because he just drove off. He did literally just found the horizon and drove off over it. He just said, I'm done. You all have a battle. I'll see you in a bit. Very, very impressive. And if I'm honest, I'm expecting the same from him in race 2.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's got the pace. I mentioned that he had the fastest lap by just over a second for the rest of the field. But what worked in William Hendrickson's favour, to try and give a little modicum of hope that this is still a competition at the front, is the cars behind were embroiled in battle pretty much from the green through to the checker. When you're fighting someone, defending, overtaking, squabbling, yada, 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 you're giving away 3 lap time, left, right and centre, just going for lap time. And that's not a problem that Hendrickson had to encounter. He could just get his head down, concentrate on the task in hand. This time around, it can be it is a reset. We've said it already. Complete reset, minus points, which are still there lurking in the background. This is still a motor race. Anything could happen. And if William doesn't have a great qualifying, he's going to have a bit of work to do as well, which could really make it interesting for us at home.
And again, that opens up that shop window aspect of all of this, doesn't it? You know, if he qualifies 5th now and has to go on and use his race pace to go and win this, we get to then see what he's like when it comes to overtaking and being in traffic rather than being out on his own. You know, it's a very different kettle of fish for this second race. So I'm excited to see if we get any examples of that as well. Obviously, the drivers that remain in the top 3, Ortiz and Mercer as well, they have to repeat what they did in that first race. They may get caught back up into the pack a little bit inside the top 10, deeper than they were before. And there's mere tenths of a second between 1st and 10th sometimes in these things. So it could just be that someone hits a curb a little bit hard, especially here at Watkins Glen, where it's very easy to do that. It could just be that, or you get on the power a little bit too early out of one corner in your qualifying lap, and that puts paid to so much effort and so much perfection elsewhere on the circuit. So, yeah, I'm ready to sink our teeth into this one, Paul. I'm excited.
I think there's a good thing about the choice as well, the Watkins Glen International Circuit. We've said at the top of the show, it's an old school track. There's not much runoff. There's some monster curves that you've got absolutely banzai over them to extract the lap time. So your car is in the air relatively often for a permanent racetrack facility. And when you're using all of the racetrack, all of the curbs, when you've got to push because the level is so very high in this competition, that is when magnitudes of hundreds, the percentage chance of something going very wrong increases. So even form suggests William Hendrickson is the man that's got all the pace in this race. The track is still there, and track doesn't care how fast you are. Track is just looking to kick you up the backside at any given opportunity. And I think that's the risk that Hendrickson's then got to balance. And again, we know, Chaz, and I'm sure the good people at home know, when you start considering the what ifs and the risk factors and that gets in the head, and that kind of just makes you just stiffen up a little bit behind the wheel, just maybe overthink things. So actually for William Hendrickson, his competition's on the track and also here as well, which is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's not had other drivers around him in this first one to really paint him a mental picture of how they race. You know, we've seen a few in that race that, you know, they'll go into it now. I mean, if you look at Quinn Smith and it was Jonathan Clifford that they were battling with, if you see those two together in this race, they'll know from every single lap of that previous race how the other one drives and where they might go for a move, where they might not. And that'll stick in their head as well, rather than just focusing on their own driving. So there is a lot to this. It's important as well to note, I mean, you're absolutely right about the curbs. It shows that you have to be committed to each of these corners, and it's a perfect opportunity for these drivers to show off their car control. We saw it from Clifford, completely sideways through the bus stop in that first one. It looked amazing, but at the same time, it cost him a little bit of time while in a battle with somebody. So it's how they manage that, especially in a slippery car like this Huracan. You know, it's a very specific car. It's not a GT3 car. It's not a GT4. It's in the middle, very, very fast in a straight line. It's got many flicky bits on it. It's very, very pretty. Makes a great racket. But it is quite a slippery little machine sometimes, especially at a circuit as high speed as this. So I think it's a perfect place to show off car control. And at the same time, it's how, I know I'm warbling now, when you're in a battle and you have to make adjustments to how you would normally put the car, the speed you'd normally go into a corner, that's important to show off as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's all about Lamborghini, of course. This is a Lamborghini competition put on by AK Esports and put on by Mosa and Lamborghini themselves. We're looking for a winner. We're awarding points to a winner to then represent the brand going forward. But it's not just Lamborghini. We've talked about this ad nauseum in the European Series. This is a relatively, if I do say so myself, high-profile championship with a big marquee brand behind it. Other organisations will be watching this broadcast. Yeah. Other manufacturers, other teams, either professional teams, semi-professional teams, event organisers, money people for sponsors, people of important interest in the sim racing industry and motor racing industry will be watching this, and they'll be taking knowledge away based on what they see from what these drivers are doing. They don't have the data we've got, the live timing that we've got, the telemetry that we have, but they have two things in their head and they see the screen. If you're doing stuff on track on screen that is impressive, important people see this, and that, I cannot stress this enough, could be very important to one of these racers' futures in this sport going forward, potentially.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I've only got 1.5, and even I can see what they're doing. So at the end of the day, there's no escape. Absolutely no escape. But we're all here watching, eyes on, and we've got qualifying now underway for the second time this evening, but the first time on our screens. It's nice to see this, actually, Paul. We don't always watch qualifying for these events, but it's great to see all the cars out on circuit together, and they're just against the clock now. Sure, they're still against each other, but not quite in the same respect. It is all about the numbers, and once again, it's number one at the top of the pile, which is Hendrickson so far.
Yep, fabulous stuff. 44.432 for William Hendrickson. This will be interesting, though. It is not a something I despise, actually, in a lot of competitions where they have solo qualifying. I like the battle through traffic. Sometimes it works for or against the driver. Hendrickson just buying himself a little bit of space. In fact, if anything, he's kind of getting back up to speed in an ever so slightly leery position as the almost mirror image Lamborghini goes through, and William has to take to the plentiful runoff area there just to get out of the way and not impede his rivals. And this is a mix of things. 2.5 tenths of a second from Alves behind. If you get traffic, Chaz, if you hit it at the wrong time, it's a 15-minute quali session. It could very easily not go to your advantage.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a particularly short lap round here either. So if you do make a mistake, if you do get any form of hindrance, you've got to spend a long old time getting back around to the start of the lap. As up sideways, and an overcorrection there by car number 19. That was Max Bowman going very sideways. He teleports it back to the pits. There was a marshal surrendering in the background there. And I know the Lamborghinis look evil and very, very beautiful, but no need to give up your job for it. 1 minute 44.432 fastest so far for Hendrickson, quarter of a second exactly back to Alves. Now that's important because Alves earlier on, let's not forget, scored only 1 point, the Brazilian driver, after his moment. So he's going to be hoping to recuperate slightly. Mercer goes a little bit quicker, now 0.128 of a second off Hendrickson, but still not faster at this stage. Clifford has also improved and goes third quickest there in the number 10 machine. And look again, Paul, at Caligaris. Sure, he's 1.3 seconds off, but car 24, based on the seeding number, should be way further down the order. He's doing great stuff up there in 8th place.
Yeah, really strong qualifying thus far. Perfectly on time as well. Brian, have a look at Caligaris now. Car number 9 in 24 position. Number 9 had a lot of misfortune, it has to be said, in the opening roll of the dice. Had DNF. But it's good to see that he's back out there on track again. And let's also remember, we'll talk about eyes on these people. We'll talk about, obviously, the champion, or who's going to be the champion, Chaz, is the interesting thing. But as a driver, if you get a good result, even if you DNF in race 1, and you finish in the top 10 of the championship standings, that looks mighty fine on your CV, doesn't it? Top 10 in a Lamborghini official competition. Thank you very much for my region. I'm a top 10 driver in North and South America. Thank you. That is a very healthy little feather to put in one's cap.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's the shop window element that we mentioned. Even if the results don't always go your way, and as I'm sure we've both agreed before, I think we've said it in this competition as well before, the results sheet doesn't always tell the full story of a race in motorsport or esports. I think the drivers will be able to argue a case there as well in some respects, because they have had good races, but just one small decision has made all the difference. So I think there's a lot of angles that you could look at this from. It's not just down to the results at the end of the night and at the end of the competition. It's all about, regardless of how you're getting on, holding yourself in high regard. And, you know, you've got to just make sure that you still appear professional and respectable. Well, that you are, but you know what I mean? You have to maintain that image throughout every element of a competition like this.
And I also think I'm just going to give Caligari my Jeffrey benefit points there, because he came down pit lane and went into his box at the end of qualifying lap. Good lad. Love that guy, really. It's really
love
nicely done. Also very important to practice your pit lane entry and exit, as we saw in race 1 with the new stop-go 30s. It's always worth doing. Might not be useful to you today, but it will pay you back at some stage. William Hendrickson then, he's on a hot lap. Last time around, he found 0.3 of a second in the locker. He's now over half a second to Jeremy Mercer behind. So William Hendrickson picking up where he left off, some might say, from the first race and the first qualifying session. Is our quickest car in the field. A 44 flat near us makes no difference in car number 1. I dare say William Hendrickson is a bit of a flex now, isn't it, Chaz? Just show the field a clean pair of heels. You don't need to go faster. Why not break some spirits while you're at it to give you that mental advantage into the race?
Oh yeah, he's absolutely, I didn't want to say showing off, but it's just awesome right now what he's doing. He's really, really on it here, and he's just not showing any signs of slowing down whatsoever, and hats off to him, because you have to do that in this competition. There's no point hanging back. There's no point wasting any time. You've got to just show them your absolute best, and it's what he's doing, and he's doing it time and time again here. He's gone even quicker with over half a second to the car behind, and the scary bit is for those drivers now. They've seen the first race of the night. They know that he could potentially repeat that as well when it comes to the race. I don't think I'd like to go up against him at this point, but you know what? You cannot knock it. You cannot knock it whatsoever. Brilliant stuff.
Really impressive, really good stuff from William Hendrickson at this moment in time. Only half job done. We're only halfway through qualifying. Technically, we're not. We're a bit further than that, but shh, let's not tell no one. But it's only half the job done. We've still got 5 and a bit minutes. We've still got a 30-minute race in front of us. It's nice to have a look at Lennon Bromfield as well, the Canadian driver with the coolest first name in the world, because John Lennon is an absolute legend. So I like to see him named after that one. There we go. Get a Beatles reference in every broadcast they ever do. And Quinn Smith thinks it's a race using the slipstream. That's not going to help you nothing. And he quickly bails out of that one and gets a fresh set of boots on that Lambo to have another roll of dice.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. While we love the realism of driving back into the pit lane and then parking the car ever so beautifully and properly, there are drivers that they will just pull over to the side of the road, hit escape, straight back in, and that's one of the benefits of the sim, I guess, is that you can just teleport back in, get some fresh boots, and take the car back out for another spin. But at the end of the day, it's part and parcel of sim racing sometimes. It's up to you whether you use that or not, and whether you try and take it to your advantage. We look here at Jeremy Mercer, currently second fastest. He improved on his previous lap time, so he's now 0.472 off Hendrickson. Smith into third place, Clifford fourth, and Alves in fifth place. Gutierrez into the top 10 this time round. Gutierrez did not score points in the first race of the evening, so we'll be hoping to make something more of it this time round. Good to see, though, as well, isn't it, Paul, that the drivers that did have a poor time in that earlier race are still connected. They're still giving it a go. They haven't disappeared for the evening. They're still going to at least try and turn it around now. Just, again, show their professionalism and their want to not quit.
Absolutely, absolutely. I absolutely love that one as well from these drivers. Their willingness to keep going there, to keep performing, to keep trying to do the best they can. It's also for yourself, isn't it, Chaz? I mean, let's remember, these drivers aren't the pros. These are not the professional paid race drivers. These are community people that are really good at what they do, that are getting out there and having a go in this competition. So even if you finish plumb last or DNF'd in race 1, every single lap you do in a competitive environment, there's lessons to be learned. There's tools that you can put in your armoury that'll come good further down the road. So big respect for the drivers to go out there, keep improving their own performance, keep learning as much as they possibly can, and maybe that'll pay off for them further down the road. And also, and I go on about this a little bit, and I know for 99% of the population they don't care, but being in the game, it matters to me. It's respect to the organisers as well. These things aren't easy to organise. These things aren't easy to put on. And if you've earned the opportunity to go there and race, minimum you can do is show up and do the best you can, even in the face of adversity. Because we didn't do, I say we, you and I, Chaz, the least important of the group. If the people behind the scenes didn't do what they do, there wouldn't be a race and an opportunity for them to be in.
No, exactly. You know, and hats off to them indeed, because I mean, said itself, these things are not easy to put together, especially in such a professional environment like this as well, with obviously the brand potential on the back of it as well. you and I have both been involved in running, more casual sim racing leagues here and there and being a part of those, and the admin involved I've often compared it to herding fog, to be honest with you, trying to run a sim racing competition. But it's great that the community comes together with this, and you have to rely on the cooperation of the drivers as well. You've got some of the procedures, like even just a rolling start procedure, for example, or if they have to do something specific in a session, you rely on their cooperation to make this look as clean and professional and sometimes as realistic as possible. Some series focus on realism more than other aspects of it, whereas this is purely competition here. So we will see a car pull over to the side of the road and reset sometimes. That doesn't matter. People know this is a sim. It is an esports competition. So no one's going to be here complaining about any of that. It's just great to see that it does come together into such a professional final product. And I'm sure, again, Paul, we share the same passion for when there is a product at the end of it all. It's great to be able to look back on it and say, we did that.
Yeah. 1000%. I still, even to this day, pretty much daily go, I can't believe I do what I do. I'm so lucky, and it's great to be involved. And I'm going to take the opportunity, actually, Chaz, say a big thank you to Lamborghini, to AK Esports, and to Mosa for once again having myself at the back, because it is a privilege for these drivers to be racing for this opportunity. But I'm certain I'm speaking for you as well here, Chaz, that to represent Lamborghini in a commentary position is one of the greatest honours of my life, and it's a real big thing to be involved in this one. It means the world.
100%, yeah. When I received the message to say, Lamborghini want you back. And without sounding like I'm going on about it and flexing too much, it's unbelievable to read that and think, wow, me. I felt like texting back saying, "Oh, wrong number, sorry."
A couple of northern English idiots.
You've got the wrong number, mate. What are you on about? But no, it really is an honour. And while we do have a good laugh up here in the commentary box, we hope that you all enjoy the professional sultry tones of Paul and I, and we certainly do enjoy what we do, and we hope that also comes across. Hendrickson is enjoying what he's doing right now, though, Paul. Fastest at the minute by nearly half a second over Ortiz and Mercer, with this man Alves in fourth place.
Yep, the sun is setting metaphorically and physically on this qualification session. The last few seconds are on the clock. Alves, as you say, just snuck up there in a fourth position, just over tenths of a second separate Hendrickson and Ortiz in first and second place. But then from Ortiz all the way down to Quinn Smith in fifth, it is mere hundredths of a second. Mateus Alves decides he's had enough of that one. That's the end of his competitive proposition in qualifying. He's going to be no higher than fourth place come the checkered flag. There's the man of the moment, William Hendrickson, though. He crosses the line for good measure with an even quicker final lap of 43.817, and that is good enough. A provisional pole by Chaz, get this, almost 0.6 of a second in a 1 minute 44 second lap. Yikes.
It's not often I'm speechless, but that's
never. You're speechless.
No,
never.
I know. My mum says I've
job.
Yeah, my mum says I've had 30 years practice of waffling rubbish. She says I may as well get paid for it. But
exactly.
Wow, I tell you what, that is unreal lap time by Hendrickson. And again, we said we expected him to come straight out the gates for this second race of the night. He's just shown us exactly what it's all about there. It'd be silly to put money against him winning this one, and he's just shown why he's deserving of this. At the end of the day, they're here for this competition to say, look, Lamborghini, you want me. It's the perfect advert. Really perfect advert. But interestingly, we've got a decent mix of some of the drivers that were outside of the top 10 in that one, now qualifying well within the top 10 again. There's some repeat entrants that are in the same sort of positions-ish. I mean, Mercer's back up there as well in this one. But I'm excited to see whether there's a little bit of this, there's some different spices in the mix, isn't there, now in this top 10 for this second race? And they didn't go head-to-head with other drivers in the first race. So we're going to see how they all react together once again, straight back into the mixing pot.
It's like touring cars on the final race of the day at about 6 o'clock in the evening, where you're not racing for 2 months. You can afford to bin it. It's the last one. It's all about now.
Last day of school.
Exactly. And I think there'll be a few drivers. I'm just looking at my screen now. Who have we got here? Johnny Ackerman, 16th place. Better than qualifying was in race one. Relatively close to a points-paying position. He's going to be on a charge. Hunter Page, 18th in that second qualifying session. A lot of work to do from Hunter. We saw he was very much in the heart of the battle in race one. Expect that car to start moving well and truly up the field. Sixth place for Jonathan Clifford, driver that we saw beautiful at defending. What's his attacking game like? Lots and lots and lots of questions, Chaz, which is why motor racing is awesome. Lots of questions that we've got to answer.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great to see that we have the attack and defense aspects of drivers in one night, you know, rather than just running one race where it's an hour long. And some of them we've seen before, they've had a lonely race. And in the build-up to events, there's certain names that we've known about beforehand, and we go, oh, this guy, you know, when they defend, they could defend from anybody. And then we'll watch an hour-long race where they're on their own completely with 10 seconds either side of them, nothing going on either way. And then we get a night like this where there's 2 races, 2 qualifying sessions, completely different kettle of fish in both races. So we get to see them defend in one and attack in the other. Or we get to see their consistency if they have their own lonely race as well. So, yeah, it's a great format, this. I really do enjoy these half-hour races. It has to be said, a little bit more than the 1-hour races, because I think as well, a little bit of, I don't know if this is speculation here, but whether a driver has a bad first race, whether they drive with a bit of red mist in race 2, and whether they just sort of poke the fire a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we'll see plenty of that one, because again, for anybody, I mean, let's be frank, part of our job is to build excitement, but it's pretty challenging when William Hendrickson's so dominant. It is his to lose.
Yes.
That is a 100% for sure. There's no way you can try and tiptoe around that one. But for every other one of these drivers, this is their final opportunity to, again, we keep saying it, put themselves in the shop window to perform in front of an audience, especially because this is the NALA region, which is, this broadcast has got an international global appeal. So it's not specific to the United States, to the North and South America. It's a global competition for the North American drivers. There's not many of those, is the Chaz? Not just with Lamborghini, but any brand, any series. There's not many global internationals for the North and South American region. So for a lot of these guys and gals, this is their last chance to put themselves on the market, so to speak, potentially for quite a while down the road.
Yeah.
Probably come back again next year, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the outreach for this competition is massive, and it's like you say, it's viewed the globe over, you know, people in different regions, because let's not forget that there could be other teams and even just other leagues and other drivers watching this with great interest, because they're thinking, right, who do I need to be worried about from this region that could be really quick? You know, there could be people out there that race in some of the Asian regions, or even over here in Europe as well, that think, I've never heard of Hendrickson, but why haven't I heard of him? You know, he's absolutely rapid. It's just terrifying, the pace that this guy's got. And then they'll see his name pop up in a team somewhere else, and they could then speak to their teammates and go, oh, I've seen this guy before, flipping heck, we're in trouble here. And again, it's having that mental advantage as a driver over other competitors, not just in the one race that you're in at that point, but races that you could be in the future as well.
Yep, absolutely. So as per the form, then the formation. Let's take a quick look at the grid. It is William Hendrickson once again on pole position. Thomas Ortiz will be alongside him on the front row of the grid. Jeremy Mercer lines up in 3rd place. He had a good race 1. He'll be hoping for more of the same with a little bit top in this 2nd race. Alongside him is Mateus Alves in 4th. Quinn Smith will line up in 5th place. Jonathan Clifford keeping him in company in 6th position. Just behind them is Luis Amaral in 7th and Diego Cargnin in 8th position. Emmanuel Lopez and Lennon Bromfield, round out our top 10 drivers. Then it's Daniel Gutierrez, Joshua Calgaris, Emiliano Alvarez, Max Bowton, Nicholas Diaz, Johnny Ackerman, Brian Pearson, Hunter Page, Brian Duffy, Nicholas Petroni and Daniel McNulty round out the 21 cars that will be taking the start in this 2nd and final race. Season 5, the NALA Regional Final of Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports.
Thank you very much, Paul. Rolls off the tongue. Hendrickson on pole position, though. Very subtle green Lamborghini to lead us round, but car 1 has been P1 all night. He was actually fastest in practice as well, just to really rub that in. I was talking earlier about salt in the wound and taking the entire lid off the salt and pepper shakers and just pouring it all in, and Hendrickson's certainly done that. It's been a very, very dominant performance. Hopefully we get to speak to him afterwards as well. We do have potential interviews lined up, so it'd be great to hear from him and see if he's just as calm, actually, when we speak to him as he has been behind the wheel, seemingly, anyway, from the outside. You know, he could be panicking like mad. Interesting to see this, though, Paul. He's actually sort of building up a bit of a gap to the field and then almost coming to a complete stop and then building it up again. He's really putting temperature into those brakes, which is exciting to see, because not everybody does that to the same level as this.
It's exciting, but it's also very close to the erratic formation lap behaviour.
Yeah.
So William will need to be a little bit cautious on that one should these stewards take umbrage with that kind of behaviour. And in fact, actually, he's calmed it down a little bit, it seems, as we're coming towards the back part of the circuit. And oh, crikey, Moses, there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
My argument here, though, is that the cars can't hit each other on these formation laps, I suppose. And again, does that come down to knowing the sim, knowing how it works, and knowing that there isn't really a consequence for that? But yeah, at the same time, I know that both of us are sticklers for it looking realistic, and you wouldn't want to do that. It reminds me of, I think it was Monza 2000. I expect to just see Jenson Button fly out the side in a Benetton and hit the wall with him doing this behind, or doing this in front of the entire pack. But yeah, you can see them forming up now. This is where the cars start to become less ghost-like, let's say. And it's going to be Hendrickson and Ortiz on the front row, Mercer and Alves right behind. And interesting second row, actually, because we've seen already, haven't we, Paul, that Mercer and Alves, they are both drivers that are not scared to send it down the inside.
Absolutely, and they will, mark my words, they will have learned a lesson race that boy Hendrickson is quicker than a quick thing in Quicksville on fire. So they're going to know they've got one opportunity to do something about this, and that's broadly called turn 1, lap 1. So get ready, folks. Fireworks time here at Lamborghini, the real race. But Trofeo Esports, for the final time this year in the Nala region, in the regional final, we are about to go racing. At the end of this race, we will crown a champion as the green flag does a wave as the green machine of William Hendrickson, as is the form, takes an early race lead, but around the outside is car number 7 of Ortiz. He fancies his chances, he knows this is go time. Opportunity knocks but once in a race, and this is the chance for Ortiz. He can't quite hold the car though, drops back into position, but he's got another opportunity. The opportunities will become fewer and further between. This is the chance. Hendrickson on the marbles, defending heavily, tries to get back to the racing line, but there's a yellow Lamborghini there. Can't get the cutback, can Ortiz, and Hendrickson, by willpower and good fortune, takes an early race lead.
Absolute stubbornness there from Hendrickson. That was brilliant to see. Lovely stuff. He put the car right to the inside and said, look, you're going to have to go the long way around here, Sunshine. You're going to have to really bleed off some speed to get back over there. Then he parked the car in the middle of the road, and it was just beautiful defending that. And great stuff from Ortiz as well, because he was really respectful. He made sure that he didn't run into the back of the car in front. He wasn't too erratic. He certainly kept his head there. And again, that shows just as much good stuff about Ortiz as it does about Hendrickson's defence. Really respectful chasing, because let's not forget, it's a two-way street. If you are the car chasing, it is on you a lot of the time to avoid contact and avoid hitting the car in front. And it was a really good show of reactions. Clifford there in 6th position, has Alves just 2 cars ahead. He's all over the back of Mercer right now. Mercer's had a front row seat to the initial battle between Hendrickson and Ortiz. But now that green car is getting further and further away already. We're going to get a bit of a repeat here, I think, with the top few positions outside of the race leader anyway, where the top 5 are all going to culminate together. And it looks like Quinn Smith doesn't want to wait around either here, Paul.
Yeah, great stuff with his opening few laps. It looks like Daniel McNulty is in some kind of strife. That car suggests it's in pit lane and drive-through as well. The Gutierrez down in 13th position. Possibly that has been generated by the game. I'll keep my eye on that one. And Gutierrez, in fact, bails to pit lane and scores that drive-through. So that's the end of his competitive proposition. But let's tune our eyes to the front of the field. Matheus Alves, that we're looking at this moment in time in 4th position, is coming under ever so slightly more pressure from Quinn Smith in the bright pink car behind. Who's going to be the most aggressive over the curbs through this double chicane section? This is where all the photographers go in real life to get a shot of these cars in air. And Quinn Smith, yabba dabba doo, sideways in the background, masterful car control, but that has opened the door to Clifford, and Jonathan Clifford thinks, this is my opportunity. The outside line though, nothing doing on that occasion.
Yeah, Clifford watches that with first-hand experience of doing the same thing, saying, it's not great that, is it? I know how you feel, Sunshine. Now tries to have a go. Oh, car off in the background. I think that's Caligaris, car 24 that's gone around. I think Caligaris just dropped it on the way into the boot section there. That's a massive, massive shame. Number 24 machine was going so much higher than his seeding position all night, and yeah, he is dropping down the order now, I'm afraid. There was nearly contact between Bromfield, who we look at here, and Lopez just in front. Let's not forget Lopez was involved in an incident on lap 1 in the previous race, so the Argentinian hoping to push forward here and gain places inside the top 10. But the two of them battling hard early on. Clifford still behind Quinn Smith here, Paul, in 5th position. But I tell you what, after that little wobble there from Quinn, he's going to feel a little bit more confident that said pink car in front might succumb to a pressure a bit more easily.
Yeah, that's so confidence inspiring as the chaser when you see the car in front getting into a little bit of difficulty. The American driver Jonathan Clifford, of course, car number 10, seeded 10th during the hot stint qualification session to get in to this NALA regional final, and is compounding what was a good race in race 1 with another very, very strong position. As things stand, 6th place feels good, 5th place would feel even better for Jonathan Clifford. It's just a small matter of the bright pink machine, Quinn Smith in front, and that's going to be a very difficult car to pass. But look at the confidence for Clifford through the chicanes, carrying so much more speed in the number 10 than the pink car ahead. That's not going to help him at that part of the racetrack because there's no real natural overtaking funnel at that stage in the circuit. But again, it's a confidence thing. It's filling the mirrors of Quinn Smith. It's making Quinn have more concentration on what's going on behind him than what's happening in front. And that's where, hopefully, for Jonathan Clifford, small mistakes start to creep in and opportunities start to present themselves, especially Chaz, in these early stages of the race where everything's cold, including the mindset of the drivers. That's when mistakes and opportunities are often a little bit more apparent than further down the road.
Yeah, the temperature is quite an important talking point here because it's now 10 past 7 in the sim. It's a good few hours after the earlier race that we had. So if the tyres were an issue for anybody in that earlier race, they're definitely not going to be in this one because it's going to be a lot cooler. The tyres aren't going to get up to temperature as quickly, and as a result they won't wear out as quickly either. So we may see drivers pushing harder for even longer in this half-hour race. Can't believe we're already a sixth of the way through the thing. That's absolutely flown by. Time does fly when you're having fun, but there is certainly a lot to think about here for these guys. Lovely onboard shot here. I love onboard shots in ACC. It's such a good-looking sim. And Jonathan Clifford now following Quinn Smith up the S's. Now, you mentioned the word funnel, actually, Paul. This is definitely one of the most funnel-like parts of the circuit, but it's the perfect word to use because we've spoken a few times about some of the corners on this track having multiple lines in and multiple lines out, but in a lot of cases, if you are trying to make an overtaking maneuver using those differing lines, you do end up coming together at the same pinch point on an exit, don't you? So it's got to be very methodical and very well thought out if you're going to pull off a move here.
And that goes back to, I think, what you said in race 1 as well about it takes 2 drivers to make a successful overtaker.
Yeah.
Part of the skill of a driver, and again, if I was the likes of Lamborghini or I was the likes of a team looking at these drivers and thinking about the future, there's a lot of credit that often goes under the radar of when to admit defeat and just give up the fight in a position rather than trying to hang it around and then cause an accident. Sometimes you've got to have enough racing intelligence to recognise that you've been done over on this one, slip back in with a minimal time loss and go again. And that's the kind of thing we're looking at. Jonathan Clifford, though, not on board, by the way, while we were talking about that one, you could physically see him reeling in Quinn Smith. So Clifford absolutely looks like the kind of driver that's got the pace to move forward if he can just find a way past. He's quick, Chaz, but he's quick in all the bits that are not useful to him when it comes to making a pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm sure one of our very favourite commentators ever once said, catching is one thing, overtaking is quite another. And it seems like every time Clifford gets to a position where he could overtake or he's close enough to make a move, that's when the whole attack sort of falls apart a little bit. It's that final stumbling block that really, I don't know, it won't show you again on the results sheet. It won't show you the full story because it'll tell you, you know, he finished behind Quinn Smith if it stays as it is. It won't tell you that he, on multiple occasions, caught back up and had to reel him in time and time again and had superior pace. It's just that he wasn't able to get through. Mercer's trying to do the same here with Ortiz in second position. Let's not forget, these guys were second and third in the first race as well. We're on for the same podium again as things are. Mercer doesn't want that though, does he? He looks like he's getting very feisty early on. I think in race 1 he sat behind for a bit longer, eventually reeled him in and then thought, right, let's make a move. Now he's trying to sort of bother him a little bit earlier in the race.
Yeah, absolutely, Mercer. Then again, lessons learned from first race. You know roughly where you are in terms of pace around those around you, and you know when the optimal time is to make an attack. For Lennon Bromfield, the optimal time to make an attack will be right about now, methinks. That is car number 9 in position, number 9. He's trying to find a way past Emmanuel Lopez, who's doing a great bit of work, it has to be said. Is Lopez to keep hold of that position as much as possible. My timing screen seems to have had a little bit of a flaky turn, so I'm going to ignore that one for the time being and just look at the pictures as we see Bromfield, as I was praising him for his attacking stance, does seem to have lost a couple of tenths of a second through the last few corners. Bit leery on the loud pedal as well. That ain't going to help anything, and if anything, this might well bring Alvarez into the back of the grey machine in the not too distant future.
Oh, looked like Clifford got a little bit friendly with the wall for a moment there out of the last corner. It's easy to do that. I think Clifford has been one of the drivers that pushes it a little bit harder. It was apparently Smith that actually hit the wall. I think Clifford was just avoiding it as a result. I saw a little yellow flag marker pop up at the top of our timing screen there, just where it says race 2. You can all see the green stripes.
Looks like Karnin is dropping down the timing screen, which has now decided to work. He's dropped to 15th, so some kind of drama that Karnin has been involved in, unfortunately.
Or carnage.
Hey, not bad.
I'm sorry. I know.
Half a point.
Yeah, not my best, but not my worst. I've definitely said worse things on live broadcast. We've got Clifford, though, hoping that these guys stick together here. And again, while he's sat behind Quinn Smith, he may feel that Smith could get closer to Alves here, which, I mean, he's all of a sudden doing, as Mercer has a bit of a wobble onto the boot section. But that's the bit that surprises me there. Clifford just made a slight feint to the inside to just say, look, I'm still here. I don't think he needs to do that, because I think Quinn Smith could be the key that opens the door here to get past Alves as well. Alves is definitely not getting away from these guys, is he?
What I'd like to see, though, I'd like to see Clifford get the elbows out a little bit in this race. It's great drive, great strategic, intelligent race in race 1. But now I'd be very curious to see what kind of chops that Clifford has got in terms of overtaking and really forcing the issue. It's all fair and well waiting for the opportunity. I'm a big fan of letting the opportunity present itself. But again, these drivers have got to remember, it's not just the result of the race, it's the shop window aspect as well. And if you can demonstrate successfully a whole different bunch of attributes within your repertoire, and that's certainly not going to help, not going to hurt even, your cause whatsoever. Quinn Smith, though, has got other minds about that one. He's more interested in Alves than he is defending from Clifford. And I do think this one's got a somewhat like the blue touch paper and walk away type vibe, hasn't it, Chaz? It's going to kick off, and it's going to kick off pretty quickly, I reckon.
Yeah, these things don't burn slowly in this sort of race, so yeah, it will be a definite flash in the pan. As look at this, Quinn Smith gets a fantastic run, really forcefully looks down the inside of Alves. There's nearly contact. Alves has a bit of a wiggle over the curb, saves it, and look who's there to pick up the pieces. Clifford. Alves has another big bounce over the curb, and I would put money on that car being in the wall. I don't think he made that out completely cleanly. No, he's still there. He's lost a place to Amaral now, who, to be fair to Luis Amaral, he scored 5 points in the earlier race. I don't think we looked at him once. He had very much a no news is good news race, did Amaral. But yeah, that little bit of pressure there by Quinn Smith to put it down the inside and put Alves in a position he didn't want to be in. It's paid off, and Alves has lost out big time as a result.
Yeah, that's the real shame. 4th and 5th positions now for Quinn Smith and Clifford, respectively. So that's going to be a fight. There's not a million miles away from the podium fight. Mercer, by the way, is just under 1 second away from Ortiz in 2nd and 3rd position. We're looking at Lennon Bromfield down there in 9th. So still in 9th position for Lennon. And he's not quite close enough to Lopez just yet to make an attack. But it's definitely a case of keeping a watching brief, seeing what he can learn, seeing where the opportunities may or may not present themselves. And let's remember, it's a 2-point differential between the two of them. But saying that one, as I speak, as if by magic, it does look like Emmanuel Lopez has got a 15-second time penalty applied to his name. We'll find out in a few minutes' time why that is. But for Bromfield, that is a guaranteed position change. Just a small matter, clearing that car out of the way so he can work on Alves further up the road, now carrying damage, courtesy of his little shunt earlier on.
Yeah, Lopez has certainly had a lively evening, hasn't he? Now in 8th position in this race. He had the big incident earlier on. It's not quite gone his way, unfortunately, but I think he was involved in a little bit of shenanigans in the opening moments. We'll have a look and see what this is. It's just come through now, thanks once again to the wonderful Fabio Frigo. He said there was an incident between cars 24 and 12 on lap 1, and that was Caligaris, wasn't it, that we were talking about, who went off earlier on. That's where the 15-second time penalty has come for car 12. So unfortunately, Lopez getting involved in that one, and that has cost him big time. There's the other incident that happened a little bit earlier as well. Cars 22 and 21 on lap 1, and the penalty going the way of Duffy. So I think out of all people, Duffy has had, well, a Duff night, you could say. He's really had one to forget.
Yeah, it's really been one of those ones where you turned up. But hopefully, Brian, we'll get back out on the racetrack and see it through to the checkered flag, and that's the main thing. He's certainly still in the server, serving that 30-second time penalty. So, although obviously can't condone incidents, certainly not incidents that require time penalties, but I can still, again, shout out Brian Duffy for keeping in it, plugging away, and continuing to make it through to the checkered flag. I do really, really like to see that one. Right, just under 16 minutes then. The lights are ablaze because it's 7:21 p.m. in-game time here at the wonderful, wonderful Watkins Glen International Circuit for Lamborghini, the real race, Super Trofeo Esports, NALA Regional Finals. We're focusing at this moment in time on Jonathan Clifford. He's in a great fight. Carnin is also in a great fight, having had a world of strife thrown at him over the opening 10-15 minutes or so of this race. He's battle royale with Calgaris, another driver that's not been averse to the odd bit of drama, it has to be said. But at the front of the field, William Hendrickson, Chaz, 4 seconds is the gap, is positively cruising compared to race 1. Come on, William, get your boots on, let's get going, son. 4 seconds, yeah. Do better than that, sunshine.
Yeah, it's not good enough, is it? He's absolutely smashing it once again, is Hendrickson. And again, no news is good news. He's still got the fastest lap of the race as well. Ortiz has been in a bit of a battle this time with Mosa for, well, in an earlier stage of the race anyway. So he's certainly not had complete concentration on the track ahead of him. But I think at this stage, Hendrickson now, well, he can just keep it chilled out and not really pass too much judgment on the drivers around him. Although I've only just realised, and I can't believe this, Paul, after a half-hour race earlier in 15 minutes, I think it's Hendrickson.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. Oh, what?
Oh, no. What fools we are.
I'm glad you said that before we interview him, because that would have been absolutely horrendous. But Hendrickson, you are correct. I apologise for our American colleague, Mr. William Hendrickson. You were absolutely right.
Yeah,
and I've revised this before the race started. I've printed off my entry list. I've typed out my entry list and everything, and still didn't see it.
And Paul and I went through our usual ritual where we read an entry list out and we go, how are we pronouncing this name? How are we pronouncing this name? Just to make sure we're on the same page, quite literally. And we missed that, William. I'm so sorry. But still, you're doing a smashing job, Sunshine. If you watch this,
if he wins 2 races, he won't care one bit.
I don't think he will. No, I don't think he will. What I'm going to do is blame the fact his name's that long. It's in a slightly smaller font on the screen. Yeah, it's some free airtime for you. Ryan Gill is doing a wonderful job here and showing you on screen. But I mean, to be fair, it even says if you look at the what do they call it? Is it the Lumi rank system on the windscreen?
Oh,
it actually says HER as well, just to really rub it in. It doesn't say HEN.
I blame William. He's been too competitive that we've not had to talk about him or see him. So he's always been something we've spoken about in third person from distance, because it's almost, you're not in this race, pal. You're that good. William Hendrickson is doing an absolutely fabulous job. It would be nice actually just to have a quick ride on board, Ryan, if you're listening to this one, if we could, and let's have a look at what absolute poetry in motion looks like with our race leader. In fact, we'll come back to that one. Mateus Alves is in a bit of a ding-dong as well. Amaral in 6th position. Alves in car number 6 in 7th position. Is climbing all over the back of that red and yellow machine. But Amaral had a quiet race 1, as you've mentioned, Chaz. We haven't seen much of him, but he's doing a stellar job up in 6th place for this one.
Yeah, great consistency all night as well from Amaral. You know, he may not be in a podium position, he may not be winning the races, but he's doing the job of consistency right now. We've said it before that no news is good news, and yeah, he's just holding firm here ahead of Alves. Let's not forget, credit where credit's due for Alves. He did make that little mistake, and that's the reason he was behind him. On pace, Alves has been quicker tonight, but he's just had a scruffy couple of races, I'm afraid. He had the contact in the earlier race with car number 5, Quinn Smith, and now he's had an issue as well, actually again with Quinn Smith in this second race. So both times Alves has come off slightly worse and lost places. Not as many this time, so he's going to be back inside the top 10. He only scored 1 point in the first race, finishing in 10th position. So at least with 7th, he'll get 4 from this one. But these are the two cars that he's sort of left behind to battle amongst themselves. This is Quinn Smith ahead of Jonathan Clifford. They make their way through the bus stop. Again, lovely sight there, and great to see these Lamborghinis hopping and skipping their way over the chicane curbs. But again, it's part of this circuit, isn't it? And there's a few circuits around the world where staying in control of the car, regardless how hard you hit a curb, is so important. You have to be one step ahead of what the car is doing, don't you, on places like this?
Yeah, you've got to be. And you've got to be. It may look very aggressive on camera, and I dare say for the less talented of the drivers, myself being very much one of those, it is a little bit aggressive and it is a little bit leery. But mark my words now, these drivers at this level, they're bouncing over the curve, they're catching air, but it is pinpoint precision. They're bouncing over the point they want to bounce over, because they know hit this will give this input, I will do X, Y will be the outcome, and on the merry way we go. The likes of me, I monster a curb and then just hope it lands, and if it does land, hope I'm fast enough to gather it together. It really is beautiful precision, these drivers. It's absolutely incredible level of talent that we've got on show, and Alves is doing an incredible job of starting to let that desperation just creep in a little bit now. He's got 10.5 minutes to go, and he will be sick and tired of looking at the beautiful rear end of that Lamborghini of Amaral. And I think now it feels like this is the time to launch. He's not getting back onto the racetrack very quickly. He's trying to carry the speed from running a little bit wide into T1. That speed will be carried all the way up the hill. We'll start to be receiving a little bit of slipstream effect as well. We're going to stay very firmly, Alvarez, into the slipstream of Amaral. Amaral recognises there's a bit of danger. Just thinks about covering the inside line. Goes back to the racing line. Now he's looking in his mirrors. He's not looking for his windshield. Alvarez has an opportunity to be as neat as he can be through the chicane. He's going to keep the car nice and low down to the apex. And Chaz, over to you for what I reckon is going to be a stab at a pass.
Yeah, I think Alves is lining this one up here. He's starting to just fill the mirrors more and more now of Amaral, and he's already seen the chink in the armour. He's seen that Amaral has referenced the fact that he's under attack. He's put the car in a different position to where he'd normally do it. Alves just puts his nose down the inside, tries to scare Amaral into a mistake there. He knows that the momentum difference through that corner is absolutely minimal between one car and its attacker, so he knew that he could put his nose there and Amaral would still be okay. It's not a huge dive down the inside, but I tell you what, Paul, if a car with that body language was chasing you down, I don't think you'd want it to be one of these Huracans. It's one of the most evil and angry looking race cars, most menacing machines I've ever seen. It's absolutely beautiful as a result. I don't want that to ever get lost in translation, but goodness me, it's a scary bit of kit to have fill in your mirrors. And I mean, the way Alves is dragging this thing around, he's really making it frightening indeed.
Yeah, it really is. Now's the launch to the inside. The overlap, yowzers, that is about as close as one can get without trading paints, and Matheus Alves is most definitely on his tiptoes now. The Brazilian driver is plain and simply sick and tired of seeing the back of Amaral, and Alves gets another monster launch through T1. Now he gets the job done a little bit earlier, looks to the inside, almost not given enough room, and that was nearly a monumental shunt from these two. But Alves still has the run up the hill. He still has the opportunity. Last time around, we saw him following through. Is he going to go to the inside? Yes, just showing his nose, trying to scare Amaral off the line. Although Amaral is wise to that one, and Alves, he's doing everything, Chaz. He just hasn't got the end product. A little bit like my favourite football team. There's a lot of the good stuff, don't quite have the end product.
What's football? Alves at the moment. Alves is, he's really throwing the kitchen sink and everything else at this, or whatever they call it in the United States. But he's really throwing everything at this one. But interesting to see out of the first corner as well, not getting back onto the track as soon as possible. There's a little bit of a wobble there from Amaral, and now Alves has got alongside him. He's going to be on the outside here. Whoa, unnecessary moving over. I don't know why Alves felt the need to go right. There was no reason to do that. It's our pet hate, our shared pet hate between Paul and I. You don't need to move over in a straight line. And Amaral, I think, was unfairly put out of that one there. I don't agree with that one, I'm afraid. There was no need for Alves to move right. The racing line would have dictated he'd be all the way over to the left to open up the corner, and I think that was completely unnecessary, that.
Yep, that was an unattractive way to end what had been a very spectacular battle up to that point. And I'd love to see that one again just to get a little bit more idea as to who did the moving and the shaking. But I think live take on that one, Chaz, is pretty much bang on the money. Let's go back to something altogether more flavourful, though. This is Lennon Bromfield, the Canadian driver, now up into 8th position, still chasing Lopez down. Remember, Lopez, he's been a naughty boy, as they used to say on a UK sketch show, and he's going to get a 15-second time added to his race finish. So they're not racing for the reward of the finishing position. It is purely for doing it on the track, and Bromfield will be pretty keen to do it on the racetrack, because it's always nice to get one up on your rival rather than having to wait for the adjusted timing screens at the end of the race, because, again, looking big picture, it's not about the here and now. Next time he comes up against Lopez, Lopez will have in the back of the mind that in the biggest competition of his life up to that point, he just got smacked about by Lennon Bromfield. And that is very, very, very powerful for a driver to be in somebody's head. And let's take another look then at a bit of a replay. What kind of shenanigans are we going to see here, folks? We saw it in the live. We'll have another look at it again on replay. That doesn't look any better. Second time asking, does it, mate?
No, there was a tiny move left by Amaral, but you would have expected from where he was on the circuit that he'd have more than enough room to be able to do that, just to open up the corner a little bit. I think they did both move. There's a bit of movement there from Lennon Bromfield. I'll tell you, for free, the wall didn't move towards him there. That was definitely not a 50-50 one, that. But I don't know. Alves definitely moved right. And I'd say to say it, but Amaral definitely moved left. But I think in that scenario, there's one that is a lot more normal than the other, and that would have been Amaral moving left. I don't think Alves had any reason to move right there, other than to try and play some unnecessary mental games to just sort of squeeze him to the inside. But these guys know what these cars do. They know what contact's like. I think that was just a little bit irresponsible from that point. And not to drone on about it too much. I don't want to completely disrespect Alves for that, because he's had, his pace tonight has been phenomenal, but it was just a bit scruffy, wasn't it?
Yep, and I will say, not for the first time live on it, I'm so glad that I'm not a steward, because that was definitely one that was a little bit difficult. Even the second time, I've absolutely categorically and safely say one way or the other. But the end result, unfortunately, was Alves has dropped himself down to 6th position behind this wonderful little battle. It's getting very dark on track at 7:32 p.m. in-game time, just outside of New York, Watkins Glen International Circuit. Lights are ablaze. The cars do look resplendent in these darkening conditions, and Jonathan Clifford still has the mighty Quinn Smith just ahead of him, and he's not quite yet found a way to sneak past and up into 4th.
I was going to say, one of these cars, when it goes dark, has got a lot more of a stealth capability element to it than the other, hasn't it? One's bright magenta, the other one's black. So certainly the car to be in right now would be Jonathan Clifford. He's hoping to sneak under the radar of Quinn Smith's machine, but these two have been glued together at the hip all night, and I hope they end up in the same team at some point in the near future, because they certainly got the team game down to a T. Well, it's been great to see them scrapping away in both races as well, both with different storylines to them as well, and I think it's great that, these guys could come away from this and they'd be, having a good laugh together about it and give each other a GG, well done, great racing tonight, and it'd be a very positive sort of atmosphere after a night's racing, because, again, another thing that I'm sure Paul and I agree on is I could finish 21st in a race like this, and as long as I've had a good scrap with somebody for that position, I'll come away happy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, winning bores me, and I say that completely because I'm not slow at all. I like a good race. I really do like racing. We've seen 99.9% of the racing on this racetrack between these drivers for all the positions, top to bottom, has been very, very clean, fair and respectful. And as a broadcaster and a general racing, that's exactly what I love to see. Look how dark it is, though, in Jonathan Clifford's car. Now you can see the light has very much fallen from the sky. It is very much, you need those headlights to see the way rather than to alert the driver ahead that you're with them. And Jonathan Clifford is still not the way past him. I don't know about you, Chaz. This doesn't suggest the body language of a driver that is throwing everything he's got getting onto the back of Quinn Smith's car ahead. He looks relatively serene and content at this juncture.
Yeah, it just seems like at the moment their pace is pretty identical, to be honest with you. Quinn Smith doing a great job and obviously holding a very sturdy and consistent pace, but I think Clifford just isn't quite able to match it. It's the slipstream, I think, is keeping them together at this stage. Either that or Clifford knows there's no immediate threat from any cars behind. Alves is 8.6 seconds back, and he's just thinking, you know what, I'm going to take the points here. He's in 5th position, 6 points potentially on the board. He got 8 points in the earlier race, and Quinn Smith got 6. So they're actually going to end the night on the same amount of points if they finish where they are. And I'm not sure whether he's content to sit with that or whether he's really trying here, but it just doesn't seem like he's got that extra 1% to make it by Quinn Smith here, does it?
No, it doesn't at all. I've just seen, by the way, in race control, the incidence between cars 3 and 6. That is, of course, the one that we debated a little bit earlier on between Alves and Amaral. It's been declared a racing incident. I think in the grand scheme of things, that seems a pretty fair judgment. I'm still not decided which way I go on that one, even though we've seen it a couple of times. And of course, Fabio Frigo and all the team behind the scenes, of course, have all the access to all the telemetry, and they deem that a racing incident. So, as they say up north in England, 6-1, half a dozen of the other, unfortunately. Shame about the end result, though, because that was a great race up to that point for the tour.
100%, you know, regardless of if anybody got a penalty for that or whether, you know, it's been declared a racing incident as is, it is a huge shame to have seen it and that came about. But at the end of the day, this is motorsport, it's competition. There will be incidents, there will be contact. That's why we have such a fantastic panel of live stewards that all look at these races, and, you know, they give up their time to keep an eye on things and to make sure it's policed well, and obviously give everybody as fair a competition as possible. So hats off again to Fabio.
Oh, hello.
Oh, yeah. The stealth capabilities worked.
That's the way to do it. Nice one. Well done, Jonathan Clifford. No idea how you did it. Probably can't be seen. He'll have turned his lights off. The car's dark anyway. You can't see it. Turn your lights on. Through you
straight on at the bus stop.
Yeah, because no one's seen it, even the stewards. But Jonathan Clifford, at long last, I said I wanted the elbows out, and just after I said that he's not charging anymore, he goes and makes a pass. Stop doing this to me, drivers. Stop doing the exact opposite of what I've just said.
What he's heard, Paul, is he thought, oh, flipping heck, are we going to be on the same points after this? Never mind, stuff that. I'm not listening to this Northerner. I'm going to crack on and get these points back. But now Quinn Smith says, hey, you know what? I've heard the same thing as well. They're side by side through the bus stop. Really close stuff, and no, Quinn just pings off the side of the number 10 machine, and he had to go for it. He had to give it one more shot. And you can't argue with that. Fair play to Quinn Smith. A great save as well. He hasn't really lost a bucket load of time there. Next time they cross any of the timing beams, well, look, here's the moment. Just a little bit hot to the hairpin. And oh, wow, that's a good save, that. And fair play, because Clifford took a risk there going down the inside on that one.
Yeah, that was 2 really good saves from Quinn Smith. And, of course, the incident that we saw during the live, and also being aware enough that Clifford is going to be down the inside and give him the racing room. So good stuff there in 4th and 5th position. But William Hendrickson is currently our race leader, and it's not going to be the last time. Well, it is going to be the last time, in fact, we say this one. But this is a man, folks at home, ladies and gents at home watching this one, that shows you what domination looks like. So through the final corner, hard on the loud pedal, there will be a checkered flag. There will be the second victory of the night, and provisionally at least, we have got a NALA region Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports champion. The first champion that we have crowned in 2024 here at Lamborghini, William Hendrickson. He had fastest in the hot stint. He was quickest in both qualifications. Quite frankly, he was a class above in both races. We don't know what he races like because he's not been close enough to anybody to have to do so. What a drive. And provisionally, at least, what a champion.
Yeah, amazing stuff that all night from Hendrickson. Absolutely untouchable, it seems, in terms of pace. And again, hats off to Ortiz and Mercer. And a bit of information that may not be so popular is the fact we had the same top 5 in both races there, actually, that time round, with Hendrickson taking 16 points in both races, Ortiz taking 12 points in both races, then Mercer, and then Clifford, and then Quinn Smith. But I tell you what, if that isn't an advert for consistency, I don't know what is. And that would mean that William Hendrickson provisionally wins by 8 points over Thomas Ortiz, He is then 4 points clear of Jeremy Mercer. Jonathan Clifford, 4 points back. And then the same again back to, of course, Quinn Smith on 12 points. But regardless of whether we got the same top 5 in both races, Paul, God, I feel like I've been flashbanged now looking at daylight. It's been a brilliant night's racing, though. Constant action up and down the order. And as we've said, drivers that may not have succeeded at the level they wanted to tonight, they've still made a good example of themselves and shown why they are at this level of the competition, haven't they?
Yeah, could not agree more. Of course, everybody, all credit has to go to our top 3 drivers, Hendrickson as well, in particular for the victory, the dominant pair of victories. But as you say, Chaz, it is my personal thing that I always go on about, waffle on about, in every broadcast I ever do. It's just the quality. No, the best way to put it is this entire field of drivers drove with class.
Yes.
And class
100%.
doesn't come with speed. Class doesn't come with victories or speed or any of that rubbish. That's impressive, but that's one thing. Class is respect.
Yeah.
Driving well, fair and hard, putting a show on for you and I, putting a show on for the good folks at home and for the management of Lamborghini, because don't forget, there's some real big movers and shakers at Lamborghini watch these. It goes very high up the food chain, and it was class throughout, and I love that one. Great stuff, and a really good way to put the Nala region on the map in virtual racing, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You know, everybody out there, regardless of whether they were just running their own race and whether they were in a bit of a lonely one, putting in consistent lap times, or whether they were in a fight with other drivers, there was so much respect, so much professionalism from everybody. It was just a beautiful showing of it. And again, a real positive advert for not just one make racing, but one make sim racing as well. And that's what we've had throughout this entire competition. It shows you how exciting it is when the machinery is the same for every driver. The hardware may be different that they're using at home. They may be in different places with different connections and, you know, have different equipment that they even bolt the wheel and pedals to and so on. You know, that's one of the best things about sim racing, is that I've raced against people before, you know, in serious competitions that they've been using a controller, for crying out loud. Like, and you don't know until you speak to them. And it's great to see that. But you know, the man of the moment is William Hendrickson tonight. He's just been absolutely gone. Absolutely gone. You know, we didn't know his name until about 45 minutes in, but he was absolutely smashing it. And he's going to be so happy to have come away with that with such a breeze through it. And I'm excited as well to see his name pop up in other competitions and see how he gets on there when he's really thrown into the deep end of a battle, because that's not something we've got to see tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a real class act all the way through. Speed, tenacity, performance, and delivering under pressure, which is one of the hardest things. I know what your answer is going to be, Chaz, but while we're waiting to speak to William, hopefully in a few moments' time, I'm going to have to ask you this question, and it's so hard to look past William. For you, driver of the day, old boy.
I think, in terms of entertainment value, I think Jonathan Clifford, actually. Jonathan Clifford's been brilliant tonight in that black number 10 machine. He's really been in amongst the battles, and there's been cars trying to attack him from the behind, and he's been attacking cars in front as well. He's been power sliding it through the bus stop. Excellent entertainment tonight from Clifford. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout, but for me, it's just got to be William. William Hendrickson. He's been so quick. It is unbelievable. And again, I said this before race 2, and I'm going to reiterate it now. Coming into this as the form man to be, with a championship lead and dominating race 1, frankly, all that William Hendrickson could have done in race 2 is lose this championship, because he was nailed on. He was nailed on for it. To survive that pressure, to soak that up and still put in an absolutely stellar performance, for me, I think that's very, very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he soaked up the pressure and he did the job. And he did it on multiple occasions as well. Like I said at the start of the show, it's like a repeat race weekend, isn't it? You have to qualify, you have to race. You go through all of that, you have to completely reset your mindset and do it all again. You know, there's no... In terms of from one race to the next on the night, your first performance doesn't give you any advantage for the second one. Sure, you've got the points in terms of the overall competition, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be quicker in the second race as a result. So, yeah, he's really soaked it up very, very well. And I believe in just a moment we will hear from William, which will be great to see. And, of course, we get to get an idea of whether he is as calm in the broadcast booth as he is seemingly behind the wheel, because it just looked like he was unflappable.
Well, it seems to have made his first mistake of the night, and according to our chat in production, he can't hear anybody at the moment, so he's there, but he's bit of technical difficulties getting his call sorted. So hopefully we'll hear from William. And I'll tell you what, Chaz, as a driver, you want it all to go wrong when the checkered flag's waved. You can have as many problems for the broadcast and the interview as you possibly like. He's got the points, he's got the opportunity, he's won the prize. So everything else is just a cherry on top of delicious cake.
Luckily for, I mean, it's not that it matters what my opinion is, but luckily for the driver involved, I think there was a GT driver a few years ago that did a burnout after the race, and in doing so blew the engine up and cost the team a lot of time and money before the next race the following day. I can't remember who that was, but that's definitely the time for it to go wrong, is when the race is done and the points are on the board. The results sheet doesn't tell the full story either, remember that. One thing I have noticed as well is that while Williams tried to sort out an interview in the Discord, it is actually Hendrickson, not Hendrickson. So
he just spelled it wrong in HTC.
Yeah.
Oh. So what I'll say is we were massively insightful commentators. We looked past that mistake until we got caught out in the heat of the moment and said what we saw on the screen.
So the best bit is as well, if he wants to share the clip of that victory on the socials, it's going to have two northern idiots shouting his name wrong as he crosses the line and wins the tournament. So, William, we're sorry. But still, it's part of the entertainment, isn't it, Paul? It's part of the entertainment. If
you're watching this, William, Chaz and I are friends. We'll come back and re-record it.
Yeah. Just...
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about that one. Calm down. So, I am from North England.
Yeah, you're going to say he's northern at the end of the day.
But no, it was absolutely brilliant. I am hearing William is ready for interviewing. In fact, right on cue, I hear the Discord ping in my ear. William Hendrickson, you are a pretty dominant young man, aren't you? What a couple of races. Well done.
Yeah, mate. It was fun. I loved it.
Talk to me about that pace. You were, I think, in race one, a second per lap faster than everybody else. Where did that come from?
Well, it's a few things. So the first thing is I started practicing for this race 6 months ago. I didn't continue practicing the whole time. I had a little bit of a break, like 2 months or so, maybe three or 4 months. But I created my setup. And I was originally slower at first. I was originally about a second slower, actually, at the same pace as everyone else. So I looked on YouTube for some hot lap videos, and I saw them, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go through, and I'm going to look at my replay and look at the hot lap, and I'm look at the race logic timer. So I'm going to look at it at the start of each corner and at the end of each corner. And I'm going to try to figure out where I'm losing time. So I started doing that, and then after the end of T1, it was like a 10th or something. I lost a 10th. And then half of the front straight, or not the front straight, sorry, the main straight, I was 6/10 slower. Yeah, how do I lose 6/10 on a straight? The only way you can do that is not having a low enough wing. I had maximum wing, and for this track, you would think that that's pretty normal to have because it was only one straight, and the rest of the track is all corners. So you think just max wing, and that'll be it. But no, I went about half wing, and the reason for that was one, because of the insane straight line speed advantage is about 8 kilometers per hour at the end of the first straight. But then also because this car is so understeery, it's so understeery aerodynamically, it doesn't have a front splitter or anything like that. So what you need to do is take off the rear wing to get more rotation, which is not usually what you do. Usually you do something else, but almost everything else in the setup is maximized for rotation already. So the wing was the key.
Well, that is some brilliant insight into what it takes to prepare for these ones. But of course, best laid plans, all the testing, all the training mean nothing when it gets into the heat of the racing. What was the pressure like for you over these two races, knowing that you had these two opportunities and that's it in order to win?
I was very nervous at first. I was very a little shaky. So I was just telling myself these key words, just relax, relax, relax. And that calmed me down a bit, actually, just saying it out loud to myself. And then as you saw both times in the chicane after turn one, I don't remember who it was. Name started with a T. Something Ortiz.
Yeah, Thomas.
right on me. He was right on me. The slipstream is so powerful. It's crazy. He was right on me, so I had to defend both times. But luckily, he didn't try to do anything crazy and try to go 2-1 there when he's so far behind. So he backed out, luckily for me. And then by that point, it was over because I already knew I had the pace over everyone else. I just had to not screw up turn 1, and it would be done, and not crash, of course.
Honestly, William, it was massively impressive for Chaz and I in the commentary box to see you deliver that kind of performance. And just the final question before we let you go away and celebrate, what does it mean to you? How are you feeling? What are your emotions coming into this competition and proving yourself to be the best in the Nala region aboard a Lamborghini and winning the title?
Well, I know I'm not the best in the Nala region. There's actually a few people who I'll shout out really quick. Igor Rodriguez, Michael Moaning, even Skylar Leverlink. He participated in SRO a year or two ago or something. They're all as quick or a little faster than me, maybe. So if they were there, I would have had some stiffer competition. But yeah, it means a huge deal because I participated in the real race in 2021 or 2022 with Fidel Morera. We were fighting the whole time, and I had so many internet connection issues, or like I did in the last race, I got a drive-through or something. It's just so many things that happened, and I lost it just barely lost the championship, and so that really was a downer for me. That really put my mind in a bad place, actually. Yeah, I've never won anything so big. I've never won anything big, actually. I've never even won a championship on this game. I've always come in second place or lower. I never won an esport race, actually, except for in the real race.
Wow.
A few years back. So it means a great deal.
Well, modest, a gentleman, and frighteningly fast. You've got absolutely everything you need for a very, very successful career, William. So congratulations again on an exceptional performance. Really, really well done. You only made one mistake all weekend, and that's spelling your surname wrong in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So Chaz and I changed from Hendrickson to Hendrickson halfway through. So if you want to clip the checkered flag, then it's going to be us shouting William Hendrickson takes the line, unfortunately. But honestly, really good. Go away and celebrate. You've deserved it. That was a dominant performance, my friend. Very, very well done.
Thank you so much. I will celebrate tonight. Thank you so much. It was a blast. Thank you for hosting. And setting all this up.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. William Hendrickson, then, the winner of the Nala region of the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. Hendrickson, call it what you want. The end result's the same, Chaz. Dominant and a very, very nice gentleman as well. Shouting out his teammates, modest, polite, thanks the organisers, which a lot of people forget to do.
Yeah.
I think he's got a little bit of everything, methinks, on that one.
Absolutely, and I mean, I've just said it to some of the guys in Discord there behind the scenes. You know, what a perfect advert for himself. We always advocate for the fact that it's not just the race results that these guys are after as an advert in this big shop window that is this competition. He's just shown us great confidence in a media interview as well, on camera for it as well, and he's shown that he doesn't just drive, he analyzes data and numbers, and he really looks into the nitty-gritty. Why aren't I fast? What can I do about it? Rather than just saying, oh, I'll practice more, he finds out where he needs to practice more, how he gains that time back, and he looks at all the numbers. That is a perfect advert for it. But underlining all of that, really lovely guy as well, very modest, and as he said, you know, he's fought with some brilliant other drivers in this competition, and he thought if they were here, he might not have won it. But the fact of the matter now is that he has won it, and in such a dominant fashion. Brilliant night for him, and great to speak to him like that.
And I often think with these competitions, such as the Real Race Super Trofeo, where the prize is joining the official team or representing the team or whatever it might be that's of that ilk, a bit of a risk for the organisers, because you could get somebody that looked into the result, or they don't meet the criteria in whatever way, shape and form. And I dare say management at Lamborghini are going to be absolutely rubbing their hands together after that interview with William. We know he's quick. His spelling's not great, apparently, in ACC. But we know he's quick. And like you say, he's got all the attributes that really do make for a marvellous ambassador for the brand. So I think you've done yourself a world of good in that interview, William. Well played. Really, really impressive. And you can't look past the track result at the end of the day as well. Even if he didn't tick any of the boxes, boy, he's rapid. And so, Chaz, it's that time of night then, my friend, where some final thoughts, if I may, before we say goodbye.
Brilliant way to wrap up the Nala region, I'd say. Two very cracking races with a bit of everything. We had some drivers that were out on their own and putting in blistering performances and scaring the life out of us in terms of their pace. We then had other drivers that were, you know, a little bit more scrappy in the midfield, but they provided great entertainment and great commitment and persistence. So they did a great job of showing what they can do as well. And we saw some awesome defensive drives. You know, some of the drivers out there tonight really made those Lamborghinis twice as wide as we'd seen before. What more can we say about Watkins Glen? Perfect place to do this, I think, tonight. Really great venue, and hats off again to all the organisers and everybody for making it so professional. Great stuff.
Yep, superb stuff. So thank you very much, AKE, to Lamborghini, to everybody watching at home, to Ryan Gill, who's our producer, to Fabio Frigo, that's doing the stewarding, to Chaz Draycott, that sat alongside me. My name's been Paul Jeffrey. I've enjoyed this a great deal. Let's do it again on Wednesday the 16th for the APAC region. So from us all, thank you for watching. Until next time, good night.